Me too. I respectfully request it.
Honorable.
I said chair. You said chair.
You just said chair.
Yeah. I didn't put chairman. I didn't.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this April 9th evening session of City Council. Clerk, can you do a roll call, please?
Miranda, Maniscalco, Hertek,
Here.
Young, Vieira, Carlson, Clendenin. We have a physical quorum.
Thank you. Councilman Miranda will be joining us later this evening. He had something to attend to. First, we're going to go ahead and clean up the agenda. Ms. Pope, welcome. And I hear also that we are losing you to another department. So this is your last evening session with us.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, we have really enjoyed working with you.
Thank you.
So-
Thank you. I've enjoyed working with you all, too.
But where are you heading next, and where might we see you again?
To the right-of-way department, and so you may see me here with some vacatings.
Okay, wonderful.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, onward and upward, right?
Yes, thank you so much. Stephanie Pope, Development Coordination. Good evening, council members. We have some items to clear on the agenda this evening. Item number 9, REZ 2618. The applicant has requested a continuance for this item. If granted, this item would be continued to May 14th, 2026. Staff has confirmed there is space on the agenda. What is the pleasure of council?
Mr. Shelby, I know this one is automatic, correct?
Yes, but before we do that, if it's going to be continued, I'd ask the hearings be opened, please.
Oh. So I have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco, a second from Councilman Carlson. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
And I believe that is a first continuance?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So do I have a motion to remove item 9 from the agenda?
Item to
Oh, I'm
which-
sorry. Move to
continue.
continue this item to May 14th, 2026.
Add date and time?
May 14th, 2026,
26.
5:01 p.m., 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, third floor, 33602.
Thank you.
Do I have a second? Second. Okay. So I have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco, second from Councilman Vieira. All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Stephanie Pope, Development Coordination. Item number 10, REZ 2626. The applicant has requested a continuance for this item. If granted, this item would be continued to May 14th, 2026. Staff has confirmed there is space on the agenda. What is the pleasure of council?
Continue item 10 to May 14, 2026, 5:01 p.m. 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, Tampa, Florida, 33602.
Okay. I have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco, second from Councilwoman Young. All those in favor?
Aye.
This
Martin
was
Shelby.
also a first.
Yes, sir.
Continuance
yeah,
request. Thank
Continuance
you.
request. Okay. I know we've got a couple more.
Yes, Stephanie Pope, Development Coordination. A request was emailed in for item number 3, REZ 2586, and item number 5, REZ 25119. Request for a continuance. Mr. McElhaney is here in the audience if you would like to speak with him.
We also received email from the neighborhood association saying that they understood that this was happening. So,
Okay. I'm sorry. Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
Mr. McElhaney, would you like to say anything?
Please.
Please continue them.
Okay. Do we have a date for that?
Yes, Stephanie Pope, Development Coordination. If granted, there is an opening or 2 openings for June 11th, 2026, and the 180 days would need to be waived as well.
Okay.
Motion to continue items 3 and
Can we
5.
do it separately, if you don't
Yeah,
mind, please?
yeah.
Motion to continue item number 3 to January, what?
June.
what was-
June
Ju-
11th.
June 11th,
Yes, sir.
and waiving that 180 days.
Yes, sir.
For item number 3, REZ 25-26,
No,
At
86.
86, I'm sorry. At 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, Tampa, Florida, 33602, third floor,
5:01 p.m.
5:01 p.m.
Okay, so I have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco, a second from Councilwoman Young. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then I'd
Any
like to make a
opposed?
motion to move file number REZ 25-119, June 11th, correct?
Yes, sir.
To continue, motion to continue then? I'm sorry.
I'd like to make a motion to continue file number REZ-25-119 to June 11, 2026 at 5:01 p.m., 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, Tampa, Florida, 33602, third floor,
And waive the 100.
and waive the 180 days.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco, a second from Councilwoman Young. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Excellent. Do I have a motion? Is there anything else?
No, ma'am, that is
Okay.
it.
Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Okay, so I have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco to approve the agenda. I have a second from Councilman Carlson. All those in favor, say aye. Any opposed? For those who are just joining us, items 3, 5, 9, and 10 have been continued. So items 3, 5, 9, and 10 have been continued. So just so you know, now that you're here. Before we get started, if anyone who wishes to speak on any of the items remaining would like to speak tonight, could you stand to be sworn in? Even if you have a slight inkling you might want to speak. Yes. Thank you so much. Okay.
Good evening, council. For the record, Christopher DeMonch with Development Coordination. Agenda item number 1 is REZ 2606. This is a request to rezone 4420 West Carmen Street from RS 50 to planned development for residential single-family attached uses. This item was continued to tonight's agenda. It was voted to place as the first item on the agenda. Last month, there was not an authorized agent present to speak and answer questions. So I wanted to, before I go into any presentation, wanted to ask, does the council wish for a full presentation or a condensed presentation, given that we continue to tonight's hearing?
I think we have a consensus that condensed is just fine. Thank you.
Alrighty, thank you. At this time, I'll yield to Planning Commission.
Don't worry, mine is already condensed. Good evening, Council. Megan McCarthy sworn in with your Planning Commission staff. This is REZ 2606, located in the West Shore Planning District and the West Shore Palms neighborhood. The subject site is located within Evacuation Zone A. This portion of West Carmen Street between North Hesperid Street and North Manhattan Avenue contains mainly single-family detached homes with multifamily to the south. Land owned by FDOT bordering I-275 is to the north, and a TECO substation at the end of the block is to the east. The subject site is located within the Residential 20 designation. Planning Commission staff has reviewed the application and found no adverse impacts to the surrounding neighborhood. The rezoning will allow for additional housing within the West Shore Palms neighborhood and meets policy direction for infill development on underutilized parcels. The comprehensive plan future land use category Residential 20 supports medium and low density residential development, including the proposed single-family attached. The proposed PD would develop the parcel at 16.6 dwelling units per acre, consistent with the density anticipated under the R20 designation. Planning Commission staff has determined that the planned development for 4 single-family attached units is both comparable to and compatible with the surrounding area and provides additional housing and pedestrian connection in proximity to the West Shore Employment Center and Northwest Shore Boulevard, a transit emphasis corridor located 2 blocks east to the east. Based on those considerations, Planning Commission staff find the request consistent with the comprehensive plan, and I'm available for any questions.
Any questions? Okay, thank you very much.
For the record, again, Christopher DeMonch, Development Coordination. The subject site on the aerial is outlined in red. It's located on the south side of West Carmen Street. The subject block is located east of North Hesperid Street. and west of North Manhattan Avenue. Surrounding uses include single-family detached dwellings to the east, to the south, and to the west. The property to the west is zoned RM18. We also have I-275 to the north. This area overall is an area in transition. There are a number of existing planned development zone properties southwest of the subject site. We have two properties, Zone PD, improved with single-family attached, along with single-family attached on the south side of Gray Street. Southeast of the subject site, we have single-family semi-detached uses, and we have an additional planned development zone property developed with single-family attached uses. Next, we have site plan. The subject site is proposed with 4 units. The front door for Unit 1 fronts West Carmen Street. The front doors for Units 2, 3, and 4 are directed towards the eastern boundary line. There is a guest parking spot just south of Unit number 4. Next, we also have elevations to show. Max height proposed for these units is 40 feet. Also want to note that there are 2 waivers requested with this application. The first is Section 27-282. This is a request to allow for front doors of units 2, 3, and 4 to face a side lot line or drive aisle rather than a internal courtyard or right-of-way. And the second waiver is to Section 27-284. This is a request to reduce the required 5-foot use-to-use buffer to 4 feet along the western boundary and to 3 feet on the southern boundary. And then we also have photos showing the subject site. Looking north, south, east, and west of the subject site. Development Coordination and Compliance staff has reviewed this application, and we find the request consistent with the Land Development Code. Should it be the pleasure of City Council to approve this application, modifications to site plan as shown on the submitted revision sheet must be completed between first and second reading, and I'm available for any questions.
Are there any questions? Okay, do we have an applicant tonight?
Good evening, City Council. For the record, my name is Ariomar Alejo. I'm here for REZ 2606. First off, I'm a first-generation American born and raised in Tampa, Florida. Growing up what is now considered uptown Tampa, I have seen how the city has evolved and developed. And then with this project, I'm hopeful that my construction experience will help progress this project forward in the city as well. Both the Development Review Compliance Staff and Plan Commission have reviewed this petition and found it consistent with the applicable land development regulations and comprehensive plan. This small infill site sits on existing infrastructure, adding to the missing middle ownership-oriented units, where the comprehensive plan already has anticipated more than just detached homes. The exact direction the city is moving with their land development code update. I'm excited by the city's visionary West Shore Redevelopment Plaza, and this project adds much needed walkable housing within walking distance, strengthening the walkable, vibrant future just on the road, 0.4 miles to be exact. In summary, this request is supported as consistent by both city staff and the Planning Commission. It provides compatible infill townhome product that adds needed housing without overwhelming the neighborhood fabric. With this, we politely request your approval of REZ 2606.
Okay, any questions? No. I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
When looking at the aerial map, it seems like the townhouses and the surrounding
Yes, ma'am.
all are forward facing.
So there's another example right here. Let's see. So there's, in the same block, there's one that has the same orientation as the one I'm proposing, as well as I couldn't put it on this one. On the southeast corner, there's another one here, and there's a couple more in the area as well. So,
So
yes,
what
ma'am.
made you decide to do these 4 instead of possibly 3?
Which is consistent with what PDs were going on at the time, and I thought this would be feasible and doable. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And it's also across the street from 275, so I'm just hopeful that acts as a sound barrier as well for the houses behind it, because all the houses there and even the tenants are looking at 275 traffic and whatnot. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Do we have anyone from the public that wishes to speak tonight? Yes, if you would like to speak, please come up, and then I do have some folks online. So yes, if you want to speak, if you could come and stand next to the wall, and you'll have 3 minutes. If there's only one, then you can just come right on up. Come right on up. And all we ask is that you start with your name. And has everyone been sworn in? Great.
Good evening, Council. My name is Pastor Thomas. I'm pastor and founder of the Grace of God Missionary Baptist Church on the corner of Ida and 26th Street. And I don't want to be long, but I just want to just let my voice be heard to the committee, where that we are a little small church. We've been serving the community for over 10 years. And we have a little small church where that the surrounding trees that don't belongs to us, they belongs to the city of Tampa. And these trees are infected. How do I know is that I served as a project manager for for Hillsborough County in park and recreations, where I designed and built parks for over 15 years. So I can just about examine a live oak tree just as well as an arbiter. And those trees around me are dying and they are infected, okay? And during the last 2 previous hurricanes, they have damaged my roof on the existing church. I have went before rezoning in a humble manner to try to get my church rebuilt. But I have been in stumbling blocks and setbacks on the new variances and the required setbacks of the oak trees. I told them that I would try to get them inspected, but the arbiters told me it's the city of Tampa responsibility because it's their trees and on their property, okay? So we have been, within the last 4 or 5 months, going around in circles with the rezoning department. And we just got it put on the right application, where that we have been stalled and setbacked. Now I see across the street, somebody is filling a build a multi-purpose unit, and they're asking to be rezoned. And my question is this: why are they getting rezoned and they're cutting down? They're gonna have to cut down at least 5 oak trees, okay? Why are they getting the rezone to cut down 5 oak trees, and at the same time too, we have held our feet to the fire and not to touch those trees? Now, I only want to ask you, I don't want to give a word to it. You give me a word to it, where that you get involved with the zoning commission, and the zoning commission, we tell them, that's your trees, you need it inspected. And they say, we'll get back with you. But it's a little car lot in the back of my church. They was told that they need to be rezoned and their trees need to be inspected. And guess what trees they inspected? The city of Tampa trees, okay? So that puts me in a quarry.
Thank you very
So
much.
it's my time is up.
Yes.
So I'm just worried. Thank you, God bless. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next.
Good evening. My name is Matan Claff, for the record. I'm a resident. I'm speaking for Res 26-06. I'm a resident. I live on Fig Street, and I actually live in townhouses, just like the proposed is proposing with the 4 townhouses. And I'm a single father, I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous speaking in front of public, but I'm a single father, and if anyone's from the neighborhood, they'll see me walking around with my daughter in the backpack. But I personally am for adding higher density and more townhouses to the area because if you know, like the neighborhood West Shore Palms, there's a lot of families. So for my daughter who's 1.5, I'm always like looking forward to her meeting new kids and meeting other families and stuff like that. So I just wanted to get up here in front of City Council and speak my piece. So I appreciate your guys' time.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next. If anyone else wishes to speak on this petition, please stand up now.
Good evening, City Council. James Lascara. We've done multiple projects in this area on Manhattan, Gray, and Fig. I think adding density in a considerate way is really important for our city, especially in areas near the Kennedy corridor where it's walkable to shops, and also near the West Shore Plaza redevelopment. So I support this. Proposal.
Okay.
So, thanks.
Thank you very much. We have 2 folks online. Are they both there? Oh, they were. Oh, there's one. If you could please raise your right hand, Ms. Wolf, and so you can be sworn in.
Okay. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to provide is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, thank you so much. If you could just start with your name, and you have 3 minutes.
My name's Alexandra Wolf. Hopefully you can hear me. I'm objecting to this rezoning application. There are too many properties being rezoned to multifamily in this neighborhood without any concern as to whether or not our infrastructure can actually handle the additional density. The neighborhood has already experienced unusual amounts of flooding, and I believe this is due to the reduced green space. Also, the additional density does not seem to ensure sufficient parking. If you drive through the neighborhood now, you'll already see numerous cars parked illegally on the right-of-ways as well as on both sides of the road. I've already personally experienced it when I'm driving, that you can't even get through the road. So if an emergency vehicle needed to get through, there are times when that would not be possible. This particular site plan with this side entrance is especially concerning because owners can't park in their driveway. They will park on the road or on the right-of-ways. So these site plans have not been beneficial to our neighborhood. I would also like to add that every other property on the block is a single-story building, and this site plan calls for 3 stories. The applicant also mentioned the need for added housing in the neighborhood. Right now, there are over 20 townhomes, none of which are selling and have been on the market for a significant period of time. So I'm not sure that this is addressing a need or a perceived need for this neighborhood. Also, me personally, I own the property to the west of this site plan, and so I seriously object to the reduced setback. I just urge the board to consider what all this rezoning is doing to our West Shore Palms neighborhood. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Is our second person online?
I'm here.
Mr. Castillo, if you can hear me, please turn your camera on.
I thought it was on.
Yeah, unfortunately, we have to be able to see you in order to take testimony.
Oh, I'm not an IT person, so I'm not sure how.
I don't know.
Let's see. Let me see that. Does that do it?
No, unfortunately, you need to have your camera on, sir.
I don't even know how to turn the camera on. Let me see what this does. It's trying to do something.
Okay, well, I'm very sorry, sir. If the camera doesn't work, we can't take your testimony. I apologize for that. Oh, it's on your device. Yeah, on whatever device you have, you just need to turn the camera on. I don't know how to tell you to do that.
No.
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
Oh, yeah, it won't work with devices. So, yeah, I'm sorry. If we can't see you, we can't take your testimony. I apologize for that, but
That's fine.
yeah, thank you. Okay, so is there anyone else in the public that wishes to Make comments. Okay, it is now time for rebuttal. Would you like to speak to what the public commenters had to say? If you would, you have time for rebuttal. If not, it is your choice.
Don't have further comment.
Okay, so we will go ahead.
If I may, I'm sorry I'm late. I had to go see wake to a friend of mine who passed away, and I'm sorry I'm late, but I don't think I could vote. I hadn't heard all the testimony on one side.
Okay, well then,
That's my feeling.
That's
I
fine.
don't know, but
I completely understand. Okay, so do we have a motion to close? Okay, I have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco, second from Councilman Vieira. All those in favor? Aye. Okay. No, he's not going to vote because he wasn't here for the testimony. So how do we feel? Okay.
Move file number RZ 26-06, ordinance being presented for first reading consideration, ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity of 4420 West Carmen Street in the city of Tampa, Florida, more particularly described in section 1 from zoning district classification RS50 residential single family to PD plan development residential single family attached, providing effective date.
Okay, so I have a motion from Councilman Carlson. I have a second from Councilman Vieira. Any comment? I can't support this because of the added, I really, a lot of the townhomes face forward. It's just I struggle with these, and I can't do that one, this one. So could we go ahead and do a roll call then?
Vieira. Yes. Carlson. Yes. Miranda. Maniscalco. Yes. Young. Yes. Hurtek.
No.
Okay. Motion carried with Hurtek voting no, Miranda absent at vote, and Clendenin absent. Second reading and adoption will be held on May 7th, 2026 at 10 a.m. at Old City Hall, located at 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, Florida, 33602.
Okay, thank you very much. Next.
Again, for the record, Christopher DeMonch, Development Coordination. Agenda item number 2 is REZ 2577. This is a request to rezone 301 and 305 South McDill Avenue from planned development to planned development for medical office and personal services uses. I'll yield now to Planning Commission staff.
Megan McCarthy, Planning Commission staff. This is REZ 2577, located in the Central Tampa Planning District and the Palmacia Pines neighborhood. The subject site is located within Evacuation Zone C. The surrounding area contains a mixture of uses, including light commercial uses along South McDill Avenue and single-family homes to the west and northwest along South Woodland Avenue. Additionally, vacant land comprises much of the block directly across South McDill Avenue to the east. The subject site is located within the residential 20 designation. Planning Commission staff has reviewed the application and found no adverse impacts to the surrounding neighborhood. The R20 designation supports medium and low density residential and limited neighborhood serving commercial uses, provided the site meets locational criteria. The subject site has a previously approved rezoning, Z04-96, and therefore is not required to meet locational criteria again. Planning Commission staff request the final revised site plan reflect sidewalk connection along all building main entrances and adjacent public rights-of-way along South McDill Avenue, as well as for the proposed FAR of .18 to be added to the data table between first and second reading. Planning Commission staff has found the development is comparable and compatible with the surrounding development pattern along McDill Avenue corridor. The request meets commercial locational criteria and is comparable with the heights and intensities of existing PDs in the area, consistent with the comprehensive plan. While single-family residences are directly to the east of the site, the previously approved rezoning cites an approved waiver to the west and south buffer requirements. Additionally, provided the requested modifications to the site plan are met, the proposed PD supports policies related to pedestrian connectivity near West Kennedy Boulevard, a transit emphasis corridor. If approved, the subject site has the potential to provide additional neighborhood serving commercial uses to the Palmacia neighborhood consistent with the plan. Based on those considerations, Planning Commission staff find the request consistent with the comprehensive plan, and I'm available for any questions.
Are there any questions? Okay, thank you very much.
All right, having a look here, again, Christopher DeMonch, Development Coordination. Having a look here at the aerial of the subject site. Subject property is outlined in red. It's located on the west side of South McDill Avenue. The subject site is also located south of West Kennedy Boulevard, as well as north of West Azeel Street. Looking at the subject site and the surrounding properties, to the immediate north, we have planned development zone property. This is a medical office. South of the subject site, we have planned development zoning for another medical office site. On the east side of South McDill Avenue, we have commercial general zoning. We have a dentist office across the street from the subject property. Immediately south of the commercial general zone property, we have planned development zoning. This site was approved for single-family attached uses. And immediately west of the subject site, we have RS 60 zoning. This is area is improved. It's an established neighborhood with single-family detached uses. The subject site is also improved with 3 one-story structures. We also have the site plan proposed by the applicant to show next. Having a look here at the site plan, we have building 1, building 2, and building 3. There is a two-way driveway located between an existing two-way driveway located between buildings 1 and building 3. And south of building 3, we have an exit-only driveway. There is a total of 31 parking spaces that are required for this site, with 14 surface parking spaces and 1 bike space provided on the site plan. There is also, I'll show elevations next. Actually, we don't have elevations with this being existing. We have site photos, so I'll jump into the waiver request. Next, we have 3 waiver requests associated with this application. The first is to section 27283. This is to reduce the required parking from 31 spaces to 14. This would be a 54.8% reduction on the site. The second waiver is to allow a reduction in aisle width from 18 feet to 16 feet for angled spaces, and that is located along the southern portion of the site. And the third and final waiver is to section 27284. This is to reduce the required 15-foot use-to-use landscape buffer with a 6-foot-tall masonry wall to 0 feet and a 6-foot-tall white fence to the west due to existing conditions. So this would be west of building 2. Now we have some photos showing the site. This is a view of the subject property. This was taken from the east side of South McDill Avenue. You can see building 1 is in the foreground along with building 3. You can see building 2 in the distance. This is a close-up of building 1, currently used for salon. Building 2, which is located along that western boundary. Building 3, more on the southern side of the property. North of the subject site, we have medical office. South of the subject site, another medical office. Looking across South McDill, we have the dentist office, and then we have the parcel approved for single-family attached uses. And then this is an example of the neighborhood to the immediate west, zoned RS60. And Development Review and Compliance staff has reviewed this application, and we find the request inconsistent with the applicable City of Tampa Land Development Code. It should be the pleasure of City Council to approve this application. Further modifications to the site plan must be completed between first and second reading as stated on the revision sheet in the staff report. These revisions will not resolve the issue of transportation's finding of inconsistency, and I'm available for any questions.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions? Okay. Applicant.
Good evening, Council. start with an understanding that this is on McDill, between Azeel and Kennedy Boulevard. And these are existing conditions. There's no construction being planned or anticipated. These are existing buildings. This is Building 1.
Can you zoom out a little bit? Thank you.
Building 2 and Building 3. This is a request to make these buildings and the uses conforming. They are currently, one is a hair salon, professional services that they want to retain, and medical office is there, it's non-conforming. So this request would make these conforming for the uses that were being proposed, the hair salon and the medical uses. It's designated as an R20, and the waivers that are being requested are for existing uses and existing dimensions. There's, as I said, there's no new construction being planned here. It's an adaptive reuse of existing buildings, so it saves and maintains the existing structures and their existing means of ingress and egress that have historically been there. The criteria is to promote the efficient and sustainable use of land, and this does this by maintaining the use that's there. It preserves it and allows it to continue to be used. The promote and encourage developments where appropriate in location. This is surrounded by other medical offices, both north and south of it and across the street. We are going to plan to improve the buildings through remodeling and renovations. However, the exteriors and the footprints will remain the same. Promote the more desirable living and working conditions. This is those of you that are familiar with McDill and Azeel, this is a hub of medical offices for small providers, and this will continue in that vein. Promote the architectural style. Again, the buildings are what they are. They're basically vernacular from the 1940s, and they will not be changed. And again, the transportation's objection is related to the fact that previously, before they had the newer standards regarding access widths and drive aisles, this did meet the codes at that time. It simply doesn't meet them now. But we cannot make them any wider because the buildings aren't being constructed new. They are existing. And promote the architectural style and features. They are all three existing buildings, one story on the site, and they will all be retained. I guess the issue is really making them conforming and allowing them to continue to exist at this site, at this location, and moving forward. I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have. As I said, this is not new construction, so the buffers, the fencing, the access points, the drive aisles, these are all existing conditions, and we're asking that they be considered as the waivers. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? I have one. So it's currently being used as a doctor's office, and you're just trying to conform?
We're trying to make them conforming.
Okay.
There's also a hair salon in one of the buildings, and they wanted to make that conforming as well.
But the question was, there's already a medical office there?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak on this item? Okay, can I get a motion to close? I have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco, second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Councilman Vieira.
Read an ordinance presented for first reading consideration, rezoning property in the general vicinity of 301 and 305 South McDill Avenue, City of Tampa, Florida, more particularly described in Section 1 from zoning district classification, PD plan development to PD plan development, medical office, personal services, providing an effective date.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilman Vieira, a second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
Thank you, Council.
Okay, motion carried unanimously with Clendenin absent. Second reading and adoption will be held on May 7th, 2026 at 10 a.m. at Old City Hall, located at 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, Florida, 33602.
Thank you very much. Number 4.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, for the record, Christopher DeMonch, Development Coordination. Agenda item number 4 is REZ 25150. This is a request to rezone 3724 West San Pedro Street and 3717 Obispo Street from RS50 in planned development to planned development for business professional office and medical office uses. And I'll allow Planning Commission staff now to present.
Megan McCarthy, Planning Commission staff. This is 25115, located in the South Tampa Planning District and the Palmacia neighborhood. The subject site is located within Evacuation Zone B. This portion of West San Pedro Street and West Obispo Street surrounding the subject site between South Sterling Avenue and South Dale Mabry Highway is primarily developed with single-family detached dwelling units. Commercial uses exist to the west along South Dale Mabry Highway. One half mile south is Britton Plaza. The subject site is located within the residential 20 future land use category. Planning Commission staff has reviewed the application and found no adverse impacts to the surrounding neighborhood. The R20 designation supports medium and low density residential and limited neighborhood serving commercial uses, provided the site meets locational criteria. The PD proposes CN uses including professional and medical office, which meets these criteria by having access to South Dale Mabry Highway, which is a transit emphasis corridor. The PD proposes a 600 square foot addition to the existing building on the north parcel and a new 4,400 square foot office building on the vacant southern parcel. Planning Commission staff request that the final revised site plan provided between first and second readings reflect the revised total of 8,752 square feet, as well as the proposed FAR of 0.49, consistent with the maximum allowed under the R20 designation. Planning Commission staff has found the development is comparable and compatible with the surrounding development pattern along South Dale Mabry Highway corridor. The request meets locational criteria, provides appropriate buffering and pedestrian connectivity, and is comparable with the intensity of existing PDs in the area consistent with the comprehensive plan. If the rezoning is approved, the site has the potential to provide additional neighborhood serving commercial uses on an underutilized parcel consistent with the plan. Based on those considerations, Planning Commission staff find the request consistent with the comprehensive plan, and I am available for any questions.
Are there any questions? Okay, thank you.
Again, for the record, Christopher DeMonch, Development Coordination. We'll start with an aerial of the subject site. The subject property consists of 2 parcels. We have Lot 1, which is located on the south side of West San Pedro Street. We also have, and I should note that Lot 1 has a partially constructed building on it. And then we have Lot 2 to the immediate south, which is located on the north side of West Obispo Street. That lot is improved with a single-family detached dwelling. The subject site is located on a block that is located to the east of South Dale Mabry Highway and to the west of South Sterling Avenue. Looking also at the surrounding parcels, to the immediate north, we have planned development zoning. This site is improved with a business professional office building. To the immediate south of lot number 2, we have another site zone plan development, improved with a business professional office use. To the immediate east of both lots, we have single-family detached dwellings. And across Dale Mabry, we have plan development zoning approved for business professional office, and we have an additional lot here, zone plan development approved for business professional office uses and retail uses. Next, we have site plan to show. Having a look here at the site plan, you can see that we have 2 buildings independent of one another. Both of these lots provide both surface parking in the front of the buildings, along the roadways, as well as under building parking. There's a main ingress egress point for both lots. There is no vehicular connectivity or pedestrian connectivity between these two lots. Pedestrian connectivity is accomplished by an existing sidewalk that runs north to west along Del Mabry Highway. Both buildings have a similar layout in that they each have their main entrances facing Del Mabry Highway. A total of 41 parking spaces is required based on the size of these proposed buildings, but 26 spaces are provided along with one bicycle space. This requires a waiver for 15 spaces to be requested. Next, we have aerials. First set of aerials is for Lot 1. This is on San Pedro, showing a 2-story structure. The next set of elevations is for Lot 2. This is along Obispo Street. Again, 2-story structure. I also want to note that there are 3 waivers requested with this application. The first is to Section 27-283. This is to reduce the required number of parking spaces from 41 to 26. This would be a 36.6% reduction. Waiver 2 is to Section 27-284. This is to reduce the required use-to-use buffer on the east for Lot 2 from 15 feet in a 6-foot tall masonry wall to 15 feet and a 6-foot tall PVC fence. And the third and final request is to Section 27-284. This is to reduce the required use-to-use buffer on the east for Lot 1 from 15 feet and a 6-foot tall masonry wall to 4 feet and a 6-foot tall PVC fence. We do have photos to show. Subject site. This is a view of Lot 1. This is the parcel on San Pedro. One additional photo of it along Dale Mabry. Next, we have Lot 2. This is on Obispo. Immediately north of Lot 1, this is on the north side of San Pedro. South of Lot 2, a close-up of the planned development zone property south of Lot 2. Southwest of the subject site. East of Lot 1. East of Lot 2. And this is an example of some of the development northwest of the subject site across Dale Mabry. Immediately across west of the site on Dale Mabry. And one last photo showing another site, this site zone plan development with business professional as well as retail uses. And Development Review and Compliance staff has reviewed this application. We find the request inconsistent with the City of Tampa land development regulations. Should it be the pleasure of City Council to approve this application, further modifications to the site plan must be completed by the applicant between first and second readings of the ordinance as stated on the revision sheet, and these revisions will not resolve the issue of transportation's inconsistent finding, and I'm available for any questions.
Okay. Are there any questions? Yes, Councilman Maniscalco.
I have consistent on this staff report. Did you have an updated one? You have consistent as well? And you said it was because of transportation.
That is an error.
Is it consistent? Yeah, consistent.
That is an error. Thank you for,
So it
we
was
are inconsistent due
based on
to,
transportation. Okay, I see it here. Okay, so
Yes.
it does say inconsistent on the inside part.
yes, we're inconsistent due to the technical standards
Okay.
for transportation, so
Okay.
thank you for pointing that correction out.
Do
Or
we
the
need
error,
to
I should
make
say.
a correction to put into the record, or are we okay?
Yeah, I can just state on the record
Okay.
for staff's finding on this is a finding of inconsistency, and it's based on those technical standards that the applicant's waiving from for transportation.
I had, anything else? I had a question, if you could put the site plan back up again.
Absolutely.
I can very clearly see the handicap parking space in the southern building, but I do not see it in the northern section, and I was curious as to why, if they're not attached.
Let's see here. I'm gonna pull it up just so I can take a look at it closer. Let's see about here. Parking here. Yeah, so there should be 2 ADA spaces.
Mm-hmm.
We have
The other one just simply isn't notated, so I think we should probably have that added to the
It's-
site plan. Okay,
it's-
I thought that
it's
might
right
be
here.
it, but yeah,
Oh,
we should.
Jonathan Scott Mobility, for the record, and they have one, it's just not labeled, but it's got the aisle underneath the width and all that.
Okay. Is that something that can be added between first and second reading?
Yes, for the record, Christopher DeMonte, Development Coordination, we can add that as a revision sheet item, just to notate that as a ADA spot.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else? Okay, applicant.
I'm gonna steal all of Chris's notes up here. Steve Michelini, I'm here representing the petitioner. And I think part of the question that you asked, Chair, was, I mean, Building 1, which is located here, was previously approved under a PD, and so all of those conditions remain. We're picking up those same waivers and conditions. We're reinstating them under this petition. What we've done is we've aligned the buildings so that they have the same basic setbacks in the front and the rear. And we've also added, because we had additional property, we've added almost 29 feet of buffer on the rear that's closest to the single family. Now, we could have broken this wall out and added a little more parking back here, but we thought that it was more important to add the buffer between the medical office use and the building itself and the single family to the east. So we're maintaining the same access points in terms of distance from Dale Mabry, and we had to maintain that because of DOT standards. We also have used the frontage access here for the pedestrian access to the fronts of the building. But you may want to think about why are we asking for this again? This is owned by the same property owner, and the buildings will be owned by the same company. So instead of having two separate PDs, we wanted to bring them back in as one PD and then reestablish the setbacks and all of the waivers into one PD so that it would be tracking a lot easier. It is on a transit corridor. It does front on Dale Mabry, which is also surrounded on each side by professional offices, north and south, and retail across the street. When you go to the criteria for the PD, we, to promote the efficient and sustainable use of the land, this other parcel here was not available when we came to you in 2021, which is when this was redeveloped and rezoned. It is fully under construction and permitted now, so all of those conditions that we previously had approved will remain, and they'll be picked up and then reflected again on this request. So, to promote the efficient use of the property, we thought that this was a much better use and easier to deal with. This was a very neglected bungalow-style house. It was an early shotgun-style house when it was in really bad shape. So anyway, they purchased it, and like I said, it wasn't available previously. Otherwise, we would have brought this in earlier. The promote and develop, encourage where appropriate in location. This isn't exactly what you want to see happening with these other older structures and the redevelopment effort to clean them up, to clean up the frontage, also to meet the various new codes regarding the setbacks, the facing, and the accesses. And we've been very particular about protecting the residences to the east. To promote and encourage the development where appropriate, and we think we've done that, and we've replaced a parcel, a house that basically was no longer serving a public purpose. It's currently zoned RS50 and PD, and again, we've increased the kind of buffers back here so that when you ask for the waiver for the fence, we're really providing the green area here. This is not a wet pond. It's a dry pond, but the fence there will provide a nice buffer between them and the single-family house. The elevations are consistent with what's in the area, and again, the two buildings will match each other. They are not codependent, but they will cooperate with each other in terms of function. With respect to the findings, it's a surprise to me that we are now inconsistent, but I understand the technical standards, we simply can't meet them. But in every other respect, we are consistent, including with the Planning Commission. This is an adaptive infill type of use, which is appropriate for Dale Mabry. It is on a transit corridor, so we do take advantage of the fact that there are bus stops and transit available here. This is only about a block and a half south of Beta Bay, and there is a major transit bus stop there at Beta Bay and Dale Mabry, as well as along Dale Mabry. I'll be happy to answer any questions. I think that we've been sensitive to the issues that are related to the development of this second lot. We provided additional buffers as a protection for the neighbors, and we respectfully request your approval. I'll be happy to talk to you and answer any further questions.
Any questions? Okay. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to speak to this item? Thank you. Have you all been sworn in?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Come forward. Just state your name first, please, and you have 3 minutes. If you'd like to use the wolf, if you just put it right down, it should show. Ooh, it's a little fuzzy. Maybe they can. There we go. Okay. So just please start with your name, and you have 3 minutes.
Good evening, council members. My name is Phil Schlossnagel. I live at 3715 West San Pedro Street, which is this property right here. My wife and I have lived there for 26 plus years. Been here a couple times, and you guys may remember me, but anyways, so like Mr. Michelini was saying, Milana Custom Home purchased this property in 2020. It was rezoned in 2021. This was going to be their headquarters, their corporate office. They're going to move from McDill Avenue over here. I already got 2 home builders on the other corners, Carolina Homes and TB Homes. This property is currently under construction. Notice it's the smallest of all these 4 parcels, and you notice the setback or non-existent buffer on this side, which I think proved problematic. So again, they're all excited. This is going to be their headquarters. They started construction in 2024. Did deep foundation, spent a lot of money on that. Poured the slab, did some masonry walls, formed up some columns, and then called it quits. Why? Because what was the conceptual plan here for the parking on that ground floor? You see these columns, but when it actually went to construction, there's columns at each bay here. There's an 8-foot clear between those columns. So try getting a standard sized car, not even an SUV, a standard sized car in here. You'd find it very difficult because this is a Toyota Camry placed in those spots. Standard car, relatively small, smaller than most SUVs. But if you zoom in, this guy couldn't even open his door. You have 13 inches to get between your car and these columns. And I think that's why Milana abandoned this project. They went to sell it. Again, you have effectively you asked about the handicap spot, it's here. That's probably the only one that can actually be accessed under the building. The other 4 are out near the street. Again, this is what it looks like right now. It's what it looks like for almost the past 2 years. But imagine trying to come up here and get a car in between those columns. So again, they listed it for sale. again, offering, they could build it out in 120 days or less. You see all the columns there, again, multiple listings. It never sold because everyone knows it's a pig in a poke. It's not feasible to park in those spots. What was 13 spaces is now 5. So they went several iterations. The first one, extend the parking out here, surface parking on the Obispo lot, 11 spaces. And then in October, 15 spaces. And then November, 18 spaces, but with a small office building here. But then they wanted to mirror this one, which obviously doesn't work with the parking, mirror that same building here. So now, with those 2 buildings, you've got all 41 spaces required. You've only got 10 spaces, really. And everyone else is going to be out on the street. So this is a big problem if this gets approved. So I'm suggesting, you guys, it be denied and just keep this lot as surface parking.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah, I asked. Yeah. So everybody who's standing, yes, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll do another one in just a minute, but thank you.
Hi,
Yes,
my name's
just
Mark-
state your name
Mark
and you've got
Odom.
3 minutes.
I live next door to Lot 1. When this was, we came here a few years ago to get Lot 1 approved, and I had some concerns. And it's, I worked with the owner, and now all of a sudden he's kind of ghosted me and dodged my texts, and my concerns were safety. This lot has been under construction and nothing has been done, and it just looks terrible out there. But we have a homeless problem. We got homeless people, and this is pretty dark, so I'm not sure if it's gonna come through, if you can see it. This is 2 nights ago, right there from my cameras, and we got guys coming into my yard. This is happening, one leaves, then the next one comes. It's constant. All I asked them was to put up a wall, give a wall to protect my family. We got dogs going into the yard, stray dogs. Again, I texted them, I called, no response. So I heard this man say they're protecting the residents. That's not my definition of protection, I'll tell you that right now. So all I ask is, number one, really think this through, especially because I'm a captain also, so I have to take my boat in and out. If I get all these cars in the street, I'm in trouble, just to try to get a boat out. I need to get this wall up too. We gotta protect it. I got dogs, and I just really need this protected. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, actually, sir, if you could just come and state your name again. I was talking over you. I apologize.
No, Mark Odom.
Thank you very much. Okay, if anybody else wishes to speak, the time to stand is now. Go right ahead, sir. State your name. You have 3 minutes.
Of course, my name is Jake Levan. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. So printed out what I wanted to say. I live at 3715 West of Obispo Street, which is directly adjacent to the property Lot 2, which is being considered for rezoning and has the questions. I want to be clear up front, I'm not opposed to any development. I understand being near Del Mabry has some level of commercial use, which is reasonable. However, I do see a serious concern about this project being proposed because it sets a precedent for our neighborhood. First is the parking. The traffic. The applicant is requesting a reduction of 41 required parking spaces down to 26, 36% reduction, I think they said. So we already experiencing overflow parking from the nearby businesses, including a salon directly across the street, which has probably around 15 additional cars parking up along the street. Our resident streets are narrow, and this overflow has already made it difficult for trash pickup, mail delivery, emergency access. So reducing the parking further will only push more vehicles into the street. It's not really a parking reduction, it's more of a parking relocation onto the residential streets. Second, the buffering and the neighborhood compatibility. The proposal replaces a required masonry wall with a PVC fence, and in one case, it reduces the buffer significantly. This is not consistent with other nearby properties along Del Mabry, whereas masonry walls are standard. A masonry wall is not just aesthetic, it provides noise reduction, security, and meaningful separation between commercial activity and residential homes. I have 3 young children at home, and separation matters to me because of safety and quality of life. The third is the construction concerns. As Mark was talking about, the same developer has had the active property behind it, just behind San Pedro. It's been sitting largely unfinished for an extended period of time. This has already drawn and led issues to trash, overgrowth, transient activity. Given that history, it is difficult to support the reduced standards, especially when there's no assurance of a timely completion or proper maintenance being done. Lastly, I have concerns both around the proposed retention pond, but I see it's a dry pond, so that's fine. In addition, so in summary, I respect to ask the council to deny these waivers and require that the project meets existing codes, especially around parking and the buffers and the PVC wall. So those are my big concerns, so I appreciate your time and consideration.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else? Okay, rebuttal?
All I can do is say that I apologize for them not putting a fence up that protects them. I wasn't aware of that. In terms of the buffers, there's 28 feet between the edge of the building and the property line back here. This property over here has already been rezoned, and it's, that PD, regardless of what you do, still stands the way that it was approved. So we're only consolidating that and making it part of this application. So the issues regarding the layout of the parking and all of that, they've already been permitted. This is already under construction. This portion is not under construction, and that's what's really before you in terms of a new project. I will address the issue regarding the fence immediately, and as soon as I have this gentleman's contact phone number, I can address that tomorrow. The corporate office is still part of the plan. They're not abandoning that. I know that we had COVID issues regarding construction and the ability to move forward with the project, which did delay it. This is the first time that I've heard about, and they have my phone number because we met with them before. First time I've heard about homeless being an issue. I can't control that, but I can address the issue regarding fencing. And if council wishes for a masonry wall here instead of the PVC fence, we can certainly agree to changing that to a masonry wall. And with respect to the technical standards of transportation, the project is what it is. I can't manufacture any more space for parking. And as I said earlier, we made a conscious decision not to put surface parking back here to provide a better buffer between the residential area and the building itself. We met the code regarding the parking on the other building. That is a request for a waiver on this side. If council wishes, we can work with that, and potentially rework the site plan to see if we can reduce the size. But right now, it is what what we're proposing is what it is. As I said, the other site, and I know the gentleman had concerns about it, the other site is approved and permitted and under construction. I can't do anything about that, but I can make adjustments on this side. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Yes.
So I heard,
Councilman Maniscalco.
thank you, I heard quite a few concerns, but I heard a lot about that masonry wall. So what can you do between now and second reading?
We can add a masonry wall and not request the waiver for the PVC fence.
Okay.
And I would commit to that. But I can't change the other one. I mean.
Yeah, this is only for this parcel here, not the one that's already, yes, sir?
Well, we do have the waiver that they are requesting. There are two waivers requested pertaining to that
PVC?
east boundary.
Okay.
Waiver 2 is to Lot 2, east boundary, and waiver 3 is to Lot 1. So if the applicant would agree, we could always change that 6-foot tall PVC fence to a 6-foot tall masonry. And
Could I ask the gentleman a question that's adjacent on Lot 1? Because as I recall, he has a boat and he had
He had dogs
bamboo or trees.
Yeah, well,
I'd just like a clarification, because if we can, if we can install a masonry wall there, I mean, I'd be happy to do that. But I think there were some site considerations for him maneuvering his boat. Where did he go?
Yeah.
It was called street parking. If there's cars all over the road, how can we get a boat?
Yeah, the concern was about street parking, but we will,
Street parking.
yeah, and if you just come up and just ask, and just state your name again, and then.
Sure. Mark Odom. Street parking is what I had the concern with getting the boat out. My boat right now is on the east side in the driveway. It's supposed to be on the west side where your property is. But I can't get it over there.
Do you have an objection to a masonry wall?
I do not.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Then we'll commit to the masonry wall on lot 1 and 2.
Yes, Mr.
Yeah,
Miranda.
and I want to just say that, masonry walls is a lot different from a plastic or vinyl fence. I've had a masonry wall between me and my neighbor that was put on maybe 60 years ago. And once in a while, oddly enough, it was stuccoed. So once in a while, the stake falls off the stucco, falls off the wall, but I scrape it and paint the wall. And guess what? It'll be there another 60 years. Well, the plastic fence will not. So that's number one. Number two is on the size or the width of the parking. Is that meeting all the code requirements? What I've heard here from a gentleman that spoke, I forget his name right now, but it said that it was
On the site
13
plan,
inches. I know when you built the house, it got to be, what, 20 or 21 inch for each car or something?
on the site plan, they're showing 9 by 18 for the parking spaces,
So it's 9 foot wide?
9 feet wide.
Did you want to ask that of staff, or?
Well, I don't, unless everybody drives a Volkswagen, I don't know.
Jonathan Scott Mobility, their parking spaces are okay. They have the 9 by 18 and the 24-foot of backup and
What's the width of it?
9 feet.
That's a requirement?
That's correct.
That's
They
it?
meet the requirements.
I'm hearing 10 back there, but I see 9.
8. It's
8 is a requirement?
It's only 8 feet
Okay, I'm sorry, you can't, if you want to, well, actually, but Mr. McElhaney, yeah, unfortunately, you said, unless he has a question for you, you can't come back.
Yeah, I have a question for you.
Okay, well, I'm sorry, so,
I'm not trying to
Just
be,
state your
I'm
name
just trying
again,
to see the
sir.
gentleman.
Yes, sir,
He
Mr.
came here, he
Miranda.
might as well speak.
Phil
so-
Schlossnagel?
Pardon me?
Phil Schlossnagel?
Yes, sir.
You had a question for me? Or?
Yeah, the width is,
Yeah, those columns, even though the parking spaces, center line to center line, are 9 feet, those columns are 1 foot wide each. And they become, you only have 8 feet between those two columns. And if you look at that, first of all, the building squeezed in to begin with. It's a tight squeeze. People are gonna pull in there and say, I can't make that turn. They're gonna back out and park on the street. So again, you go from 13 down to 5 effectively usable spots per lot. It's gonna be crazy, especially being a medical office building. Like, they're gonna be way up and down the street. So.
and let me say this, anybody can park in any parking spot in the street, including where I live, and you can't do anything about it because it's just public property.
The
So
only thing
it's-
that I would
it's-
say,
That
Council,
changed some time ago. We used to be able to give tickets and all that. Can't do that no more. You can park in anybody's front yard as long as you don't get onto the property that's owned by the residents, and it's there. That's what not bothers me, I'm concerned about that, for both the developer and the landowner.
well, I don't know where, he said he was putting his boat there. The boats are supposed to be behind the front.
That's another question for another day. I
That-
understand that.
And I mean, I'm sympathetic, and there's certain things that I can do, and I'll, can make a commitment on. And there are other things that I don't really have any control over. But the plan is to maintain the parking that is required for the use. It's an elevated building, so that the parking is underneath. And as I said, we've reduced the size of the building footprint and increased the buffer on the back.
okay, any additional questions?
What's that? They might want a summary of the changes.
Chris Demonch, Development Coordination. I just wanted to provide a summary of the changes we're looking to do. So
Okay.
in addition to the items referenced on the revision sheet as it is, we are adding a note to update waivers 2 and 3 on the site plan to reflect a 6-foot masonry wall to be provided. This would be replacing the reference to 6-foot PVC fence. And then the other item would be to add a handicap label to Lot 1, spot which is designated for handicap parking. So there's that one spot.
You want the other site on Lot 1 to
Right
be
here.
clearly identified.
Yep, so we'll just add a handicap label to this one here, because that lot right there is clearly larger than the others, so we'll just add the label to that particular spot on Lot 1. Is there anything else we, just make sure that, was it just those 3 items?
Okay. Okay.
That addresses, do you agree
Now,
with that?
we've agreed to the changes that Christopher just outlined.
Okay, anything else? I heard a motion to close from Councilman Vieira, second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so, Councilwoman Young.
Okay, file number REZ-25-115, ordinance being presented for first reading consideration, and ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity of 3724 West San Pedro Street and 3717 Obispo Street in the city of Tampa, Florida, and more particularly described in section 1 from zoning district classification RS50 residential single family and PD plan development to PD plan development, business professional office, medical office, providing an effective date.
Including the revision sheet.
Including the revision sheet.
Okay. I have a second from, so I have a motion from Councilwoman Young, a second from Councilman Maniscalco. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Nay. So I'm sorry, there's one nay.
Thank you, Councilman.
Okay, motion carried. Was it Miranda? Okay. Motion carried with Miranda voting no and Clendenin absent. Second reading and adoption will be held on May 7th, 2026 at 10 a.m. at Old City Hall, located at 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, Florida, 33602.
Oh, good. I was going to have that request that he go ask. I do have a question. Was there a revision sheet on either of the first 2 items, and I just missed them? I remember Planning Commission staff said something about changing site plan from between first and second reading for number 1. Do we need to reopen that or just redo that?
I can confirm that on item 2, we do have planning commission items noted on that revision sheet. and I'll
Okay,
check-
so how can we?
Hold on, let me share. Let's double check this.
I think that's, at this point, that's rather difficult. I guess the direction, there's an
Can we
understanding.
rescind it and revote?
Well, the petitioner is the same petitioner?
Yes, Mr. McElhaney.
Oh, they didn't, or?
I'm sorry, if you didn't mention it, we'll commit to the revision sheet.
But if for item number 2, we want it in the record. It's my fault. I
No,
apologize.
that's fine.
Item number 2, what's the REZ? REZ,
REZ 25-77. So I have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco.
Second.
A second from Councilman Carlson. All in favor?
Aye.
So do we need to, Mr. Shelby, do we need to have someone rescind the motion and just restate it by adding the revision sheet? Is that the best way to do this?
yeah, that would be fine.
Okay, so you are the one that,
So if I may, I move to rescind my motion for REZ 2577.
okay, I have a motion from Councilman Vieira, second from Councilman Carlson. All in favor? Aye.
And now, if I may, I'm going to read the ordinance again, if necessary, with the revision sheet. So I move an ordinance presented for first reading consideration, rezoning property in the general vicinity of 301 and 305 South McDill Avenue, City of Tampa, Florida, more particularly described in Section 1 from zoning district classification, PD plan development to PD plan development, medical office, personal services, providing an effective date with the aforementioned revision sheet, please.
Okay, so I have a motion from Councilmember Vieira, a second from Councilmember Maniscalco. All in favor? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, the hearing's been closed.
I know, but don't you need a commitment from me for the revision sheet?
Well, the revisions were already there and asked for, but
That's
yes, go, for the record, Mr. Michelini, do you
Yes, we
agree?
commit to the revision sheet.
Okay. Okay, so, oh, I'm sorry, we forgot to close it. Okay. We're good. Okay.
I just want to get it on the record.
Thank you. So, we have a motion from Councilman Vieira, a second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion to close. Motion from Councilman Vieira, second from Councilman Maniscalco. All in favor? And it's as his Councilman Vieira's aforementioned motion, seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Councilwoman Young is missing. Yeah.
Okay, motion carried with Young absent at vote and Clendenin absent.
Is that was the close?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Second reading and adoption will be held on May 7th, 2026 at 10 a.m. at Old City Hall, located at 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, Florida, 33602.
Thank you. Was there anything for item 1?
I want to make sure, because I voted just to close. I never voted
Well,
here.
no. That was item 3. We
Okay.
were
All right.
redoing item 2.
All right.
Only if you didn't mention it as part of your motion, we would have to go back.
There was no mention in the motion.
Okay, then we'll have to.
Yeah, the gentleman's there. Yeah,
Applicant's
so.
still here.
So, sir, do you agree to the revisions that were requested on the revision sheet? Mhm. Yeah, can you come up and just state your name?
Can we recall that?
Yes, motion to reopen, can someone do a motion to
So moved.
reopen item 1? Okay, so I have a motion from Councilman Miranda, second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor? Aye. Sir, can you state your name again?
Ariomar Alejo.
Okay, do you agree to make the revisions that have been requested and put into the staff report?
Yes, ma'am, I do agree to make the
Okay,
revision.
excellent, thank you so much. Do I have a motion to close? I have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco, second from Councilman Carlson. All those in favor? Aye. Councilman Carlson, I apologize, but please include the revision sheet.
I move file number REZ 2606, including the revision sheet. Ordinance being presented for first reading consideration, ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity of 4420 West Carmen Street in the city of Tampa, Florida, more particularly described in section 1 from zoning district classification RS 50 residential single family to PD plan development, residential single family attached, providing effective date and the revision sheet.
Okay, so I have a motion from Councilman Carlson, a second from Councilman Vieira. We're having to redo item 1. Sorry.
Well, item 1.
Yes, this is item 1.
I wasn't here. I
okay.
wasn't here for that.
Oh, okay, so yes, you're going to abstain again. Okay, so
He's not going to abstain, I guess he's going to be absent.
Yeah.
he's absent at vote. I apologize. So, okay. Can you go ahead and do a roll call again for this one? Item 1.
Maniscalco? Yes. Young? Vieira? Carlson? Hurtek?
No.
Okay. Okay, motion carried with Miranda absent at vote and Hurtek voting no, and Clendenin absent. Second reading and adoption will be held on May 7th, 2026 at 10 a.m. at Old City Hall, located at 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, Florida, 33602.
Thank you all so much. Okay, we're on to 6?
6.
Okay.
Good evening again, Christopher DeMonch, Development Coordination. Agenda item number 6 is REZ 2609. This is a request to rezone 3415 West Harbor View Avenue from RS 60 to RS 50, and I'll turn it over now to Planning Commission staff.
Megan McCarthy, Planning Commission staff. This is REZ 2609, located in the South Tampa Planning District in the Bayshore Beautiful neighborhood. The subject site is located within Evacuation Zone B. The surrounding area contains single-family detached homes. Public, semi-public uses exist to the west, including the South Tampa Family YMCA, as well as commercial uses on the west side of the Selman Expressway. The subject site is located within the residential 10 future land use designation. Planning Commission staff has reviewed the application and found no adverse impacts to the surrounding neighborhood. This rezoning will allow for additional housing within the Bayshore Beautiful neighborhood and meets policy direction for infill development on underutilized parcels. The comprehensive plan, future land use category residential 10, supports low-density residential development. Due to the concentration of single-family residential within proximity to light commercial west of the subject site, Planning Commission staff has determined that the proposed RS50 zoning district is both comparable to and compatible with the surrounding area and provides additional housing opportunities within connectivity to South Himes Avenue and Britton Plaza, a collector roadway, and commercial employment opportunities. Based on those considerations, Planning Commission staff find the request consistent with the comprehensive plan, and I'm available for any questions.
Okay, thank you very much.
Having a look here at the aerial, again, for the record, Christopher DeMonch, Development Coordination. Having a look here at the aerial, subject site is outlined in red. It's located on the north side of West Harborview Avenue. The subject block is located east of South Himes Avenue and west of South Linwood Avenue. The subject property is also developed with a single-family detached dwelling. Surrounding the subject site to the north, south, east, and west, we have RS60 zoning. We have single-family detached dwellings on three of the four sides, with the South Tampa Family YMCA located west of the subject property across South Himes Avenue. Next, we have a survey shown in yellow here, the outline for the subject property. The property has approximately 110 feet of street frontage on West Harborview Avenue and 136 feet of street frontage along South Himes Avenue. Next, I have a corresponding map. This map highlights properties within 1,320 feet of the subject lot. This is the subject lot. These are all RS60 zone properties. We've done a summary of parcels based on lot size.
Can you zoom out so we can see that at the top? Thank you.
Absolutely. And I've provided analysis in my staff report, which is on page 3. As part of my presentation, I'm going to be providing analysis specifically on the block face, which includes the subject lot on the north side of West Harborview Avenue between Himes and South Linwood Avenue, the lots on the south side of West Harborview Avenue between Himes and Linwood, and then north of the subject site, this would be on the south side of West Wallcraft Avenue between Himes and South Linwood Avenue. The subject property is part of the Harborview Palms subdivision, Block 2, Lots 7 and 8, which was originally platted in 1925. The area of analysis included 309 parcels. 177 parcels, or 57%, have been developed with a width of 60 feet or greater. And 132 parcels, or 43%, have been developed with a width of 59.99 feet or less. The subject block face on the north side of West Harborview Avenue contains 7 parcels, including the subject site, with widths ranging from 50 to over 100 feet. Excluding the subject property, 6 or 100% of the parcels on the subject block have a width of 59.99 feet or less, with 4 measuring 50 to 54.99 feet in width and 2 measuring 55 to 59.99 feet in width. The block face on the south side of West Harborview Avenue between South Himes and South Linwood Avenue contains 5 parcels with widths ranging from 75 feet to over 100 feet. A total of 5 or 100% of the parcels have a width of 60 feet or greater, with 1 or 20% of the parcels measuring 75 to 79.99 feet in width. 3 or 60% of the parcels measuring 80 feet to 99.99 feet in width, and 1 or 20% of the parcels measuring 100 feet or greater in width. Next, we analyze the block face just north of the subject site on the south side of West Wallcraft Avenue between South Himes and South Linwood Avenue. That block face contains 7 parcels with widths ranging from 50 feet to over 100 feet. A total of 5 or 72% of the parcels measure 50 to 54.99 feet in width, and 1 or 14% of the parcels measuring 55 to 59.99 feet in width, and 1 parcel or 14% of the parcels measuring 100 feet or greater in width. Next, we have photos taken of the subject site, surrounding parcels as well. This is the view of the subject property from West Harborview Avenue. Next, we have a view of the subject site. This is from South Himes Avenue. This property is immediately north of the subject block. This is on Wallcraft. Next, we have a property on the south side. This is immediately south of the subject property. This would be on West Harborview Avenue. Next, we have a parcel immediately east of the subject site. One more parcel. This is one parcel over from the photo I just saw, just to give you an idea of the characteristics of this neighborhood. And of course, this is west of the subject site. That's the YMCA facility. This is a view looking east down West Harborview Avenue. Next photo here we have looking west. This is looking towards the YMCA on West Harborview Avenue. Staff has identified in the overall study area that 57% of the parcels have been developed with a width of 60 feet or greater, and 43% have been developed with a width of 59.99 feet or less in the study area. While there are a variety of lot sizes within the vicinity of the subject property, staff finds the proposed request to be inconsistent with the existing development pattern of the overall study area, and I'll be available for any questions.
Okay. Are there any questions? Okay. Applicant. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. Before we go any further, I know we're going to have some people who come in. If we could have a moment to swear anyone in who has just arrived. If you plan on speaking, there have been quite a few people who've come in. Please stand and raise your right hand so we can swear you in. Okay. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide is the truth and nothing but the truth? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Michelini.
Good evening, Council. Steve Michelini, representing the petitioner. Let me show you a couple of examples here of what, I guess we had an echo on the microphone.
I don't know. Extra echo.
Okay, this is the plat that's associated with this project, and I have 4 letters of support from adjacent property owners. This is a property owner supporting it here, here, and here. And now these are across the street from the petitioner project, which is there.
Can you point to petitioner project again?
It's this corner.
Okay.
This is immediately north of this property. These are all 53-foot lots, immediately north of this petitioner. This is the petitioner site here. These are all 50-foot lots, and the ones that I just showed you on the plat are up here. So we also have support, and some of those letters are support from here. These individuals are here, 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 and here. This is a view down the street showing you the development pattern that clearly shows that these properties are 50-foot lots. They're older homes. These are probably from the 40s or 50s, and they were most likely made non-conforming when zoning conformance came through. So that even though they're still zoned RS60, they are non-conforming. When I talked to city staff about how they got to the conclusion that this was found to be inconsistent, it's because of the distance that they have to go out. As you go further away from this section, the lots do get larger, but this particular street and this area is characterized by smaller lots. And this is a speculation, but I believe that this was probably done much later in the development process that helped to establish smaller lots for smaller homes that were affordable. And you simply didn't have that. When we talk about the project itself, the owner is here, and I want to bring him up and let him talk about that they've lived there since basically since they were born. Come on. Introduce yourself, give me your name.
My name's Calvin Sollenberger, and I just want to say that, you know, we're not coming in the neighborhood to flip the lots. We've been there since 1952. We've been in the neighborhood for 75 years, and the reason we're selling the lot now is my mother passed away in May. And I just want to say that most of the lots in our area are 50 foot. I live around the corner, my lot's 59. People across the street with the two-story houses are all 50 foot. It's been that way forever. And I've been in my house this July, I'll be 56 years, and I live a block and a half from this one. But my friend just around the corner from me on my same street, he just had his house rezoned to 55 February 12th. So, you know, they're all 50 foot, and we're not in here to, you know, flip the lot and you know, and short circuit anything. But, you know, I just want to say, when we moved in there, Himes wasn't there. That was a dead-end street at Himes right there. There was where the YMCA. There was no Himes. There was nothing. There was just a ditch all the way to Gandy Boulevard. So I just want to let you know, that we've been there for quite a while.
And you're requesting approval.
Oh, what?
You're going to ask them, you have to tell the council what you want. You'd like to have approval.
Yes, I'd like to have approval, sure.
So they're not mind readers. You've got to put on the record what you want. Anyway, I think that, you know, based upon what I've shown you with these other lots, all 50-foot lots in here, this is the lot, it's the subject lot. All of these are 50-foot lots behind here. And this one just got an ADU approved, so there's actually 2 units there. And then these are other letters of support that I provided for you into the record. This is immediately to the north. All of these are 53 feet. And I think that the staff showed you those pictures. It's in very close proximity to the Y. It's on a corner. It's on a transit corridor with Himes. And here is a delineation of the lots that I told you to the north. These are all 53 feet. This is 50, 53, and 50-foot lots. So if you're looking at this block itself, you'll see that the characterization there are smaller lots. And then this is the plat map showing, originally they were platted in that configuration, and the subject lot is there. I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have. I think that the immediate area is characterized by the smaller lots. And again, we're not asking to set a precedent for outside of this area, but these properties clearly demonstrate that the lots in the immediate vicinity are smaller. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions? Councilman Miranda?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you very much. Does anyone from the public wish to speak on this item?
Go ahead.
Yes, so if you do, just go ahead and stand on the wall. Oh, no, ma'am, you can come right ahead. And all we're going to ask is that you state your name. Oh, and you have that goes up.
There's one name on the speaker waiver form, Sandy Sanchez. 1 additional minute, total of 4.
Okay, start with your name and you have 4 minutes.
Hi, I'm Melody Levine. I'm an attorney at Ray-Ban Law, and I live at 3411 West Harborview Avenue, so the yellow house that y'all saw in the picture before. I'm very glad that the city found this inconsistent with the plan because I think this would be a horrible decision for our neighborhood. So the first thing that I want to talk about is safety. So we are looking at a house that is at the corner of a busy road. Where we specifically are at Harborview, it's especially busy because the YMCA secondary parking lot, when people park there and want to go north on Himes, they have to make a U-turn at Harborview. So our intersection is probably the busiest intersection in that entire area. Plus, we have pedestrians, we have kids walking to the YMCA by themselves, we have golf carts coming from every direction and people going to Little League there. I was looking at the map and looking this morning, and essentially every single corner house on Himes from Harborview South, so Harborview, Lawn, Dorchester, Carrington, all those are large lots. They're safe, they're clear, keeping it open for people transgressing that at the intersection. This is our intersection currently, so I put a picture up here so you could see it. You can see that it is wide open, visibility is great. I put two pictures there, one showing a car on the left because there usually are cars parked on the left of our street there.
If T and I could show that, that'd be great. So go ahead. Thank you.
There usually are cars parked on the left side of the street, so directly across from this property. And this picture, I just took it this morning, shows where those cars are always making that U-turn right there in the center of this. So we really need to make sure that these intersections are open, safe, and clear for people on Himes. I also put this here because I just wanted to show, okay, we have this house, it's one house now. Now envision there being two houses, two huge houses, because they will be. Two driveways, multiple cars in the parking lot, more cars on the street. You're going to have two beautiful privacy fences. You're going to have multiple gorgeous landscaping there, and it's going to affect the visibility of the area for pedestrians, for people making that turn. It's going to affect the transgression ability of it. I almost got hit by a car the other day walking to the Y because cars are there, people turn the corner and then they have to avoid the cars that are parked. People are walking, golf carts are coming. So I think it's very important to keep that area clear. And then with the rezone to the RS50, that means, of course, a shorter setback. So the house can be up further, the driveway's going to be shorter. In communities with those RS50 zoning, you see cars essentially backed up to the street because the driveways are softer. So then it's more dangerous. People have to walk off the sidewalks in order to go around the cars, creates a whole nother hazard. And that parlays into the fact that there are no lots zoned for RS50 in this area. I get that even though I'm RS60, my lot is 50 feet, but when you look down that block on the right side of Harborview, it is huge lot, huge lot, huge lot, huge lot. And then on our side, it's all RS60. There are no RS50s. So essentially, by allowing this house to become RS50 with its own setback and its own zoning rules, you would be setting the precedent that now, okay, 6 beautiful, huge houses on Harborview, now you can become 12 houses right there, where you're essentially having alternating setbacks and you're creating this just claustrophobic feel in our neighborhood when we specifically chose this area because the houses were not like that. I read the transcript from the March 12th hearing, the rezoning hearing for 2907 West Euclid, and this council voted unanimously against that. And that case was identical to this one. You had the city of Tampa saying that the zoning proposal was inconsistent with city of Tampa plan. You had a busy street, you had pedestrians, you had all the zones zoned for RS60 or higher, and of course the concern for the slippery slope that we don't want to have it in Bayshore Beautiful of South Tampa. And lastly, I want to address the letters of support that Mr. Michelini handed you, because when I got home from work yesterday, I was told, oh, a realtor, the old principal of Coleman came by, he was talking to all the people that he knew, and I went around, I was like, why did you sign the document? Oh, because he was so nice, and he talked to me for 30 minutes about the good old days, and I thought the city was just going to approve it anyway, so please don't put stock in that. I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. Next.
Hi, my name's Matthew Howell. I'm one block up on West Wallcraft, 2 blocks over. I should probably just say ditto because that's much more eloquent. Not nearly as prepared, but it's good practice to say that we're very concerned. I mean, I'm the only here from my block that I see, but basically about congestion and the increased population density. Many neighbors feel the same, but I'm here speaking for myself, my family, and my 2 young girls, elementary age, that are living on that block that have seen the detrimental effect of lots of these nice lots being split just to build another home. And that's definitely had an impact, not on commuting also, but just on the safety of children playing in the neighborhood, which concerns me. So I very much echo what she said before me. I'm against that. And also for the precedent that it may set, because there's somebody on my block considering the same kind of proposal. And so in preparation for that, I wanted to try and get active for my neighborhood. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Does anybody else wish to speak on this petition? Okay, rebuttal.
You see that all right?
Yes.
This is the map that Christopher, city staff, put up. And there are other lots that are rezoned for RS50. There's a whole section in here. There's one here. I'm not sure what that PD is, but there are others. And all of the lots that I showed you adjacent to it are non-conforming 50-foot lots. Their homes are built that way. This is Wallcraft and Harborview. All of these, every one of them is not a 60-foot lot. They're all non-conforming. So it's not introducing a new development pattern or a new precedent. It's not going to increase necessarily, the traffic. We got the echo going again. What it does do is allow these gentlemen whose mother passed away to be able to redevelop that lot. I showed you the picture. That's looking down the street on Harborview. Those are 50-foot lots. Those are not big lots. And, you still have to meet, in the event, that you approve this, you still have to meet the code. You're not going to be able to obstruct the view triangle regarding traffic. You're going to still have the same kind of setbacks. With respect to the distance, there's almost 15 feet between the edge of the pavement. Let me show you. Between the edge of the pavement and the right-of-way where the building line starts. Well, you can see it. You can see it here. There's a distance between the edge of this curb and then the back of the sidewalk here is somewhere between 12 and 15 feet before the property line even starts. And this property is 55, or at least the proposal is, that the lots will be 55 feet wide by 136 feet deep. So they're not going to be crammed up and up to the edge of the sidewalk or creating a transportation issue. And again, they have to meet all of the codes, they have to meet transportation, and they'll be looking at the view triangle. So this is the original plat for this parcel, and all these lots were platted that way. So it was the city that came in and rezoned them to RS60 that made them non-conforming. But anyway, you want to add anything? Yeah. Well, come on up quickly. We got 2 minutes.
Can you pause for a second? Let him come up.
Okay. My name is Robert Sollenberger, and I just want to say, as far as safety and stuff like that, as long as I've been there, I've seen maybe 1 or 2 accidents, somebody making a U-turn, which was their fault because they were making a U-turn. Most of the traffic comes from the Y. Right down the road, they have bricks, flashing lights, 2 or 3 of them, with sidewalks on either side. So as far as people walking, most people walk on the sidewalk and not in the street. So, and as long as I've lived there, I was 3 years old when I moved into that house. And like he said, there was no Himes, and they had just built Britton Plaza. And all that land over there, where the Y is, used to be Palmacia Little League. But before that, Palmacia Little League was on MacDill. They moved there, and then when they got the property for the Y, they moved Palmacia Little League down further. But you've got kids playing out there all the time, and I mean, I've seen no problems with the safety or anything like that. I've lived in that neighborhood for 70-something years and never seen anything that would cause me concern. But that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you very much. Anything else, Mr. Michelini? Got 30
we-
seconds.
Respectfully request your approval. I think we've demonstrated that this is not an introduction of a new development pattern. It already exists. We're simply trying to make it conforming and allow these individuals to develop the 2 lots.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I get a motion to close? Before I do that, oh no, this is Euclidean. Okay, just checking the revision
No
sheet.
revision sheet on
Yeah,
this
sorry. So I have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco, a second from Councilman Miranda to close. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Okay. Can you turn your mic on for me? Thank you.
My headlights. Item number 6, file number RZ 26-09. Ordinance being presented for first reading, consideration, ordinance rezoning property general vicinity of 3415 West Harbor View Avenue in the city of Tampa, Florida, and more particularly described in section 1 from zoning district classification RS60, residential single family, to RS50, residential single family, providing an effective date.
Do I have a second? Okay, so I have a motion from Councilman Miranda. I have a second from Councilman Vieira. Anybody want to say anything before the vote? I will say something about this one because this is going to be unusual for me, but this block very clearly on that side of the street already has 50 to 53 foot lots. So I'm going to support this because this is only this side of the block. If it was on the other side, I would not agree. But this block has 50 feet all the way across, and so because of that, and I do appreciate people talking about the traffic, but that is not something that we're allowed to consider in a rezoning. So, thank you. Can you do a roll call, please?
Maniscalco? Young? Yes. Vieira? Yes. Carlson? Miranda?
Yes.
Hurtak?
Yes.
Motion carried with Maniscalco and Carlson voting no and Clendenin absent, with Clendenin being absent. Second reading and adoption will be held on May 7th, 2026 at 10 a.m. at Old City Hall, located at 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, Florida, 33602.
Thank you, Council.
We get to have you for a couple more.
Yes.
Excellent.
Stephanie Pope, Development Coordination. Agenda item number 7 is REZ 2627, request to rezone 3106 North Massachusetts Avenue, 1/2, from RS50 to RM18. On the staff report, there is a correction to the future land use in the summary of the request. The future land use is R20, and I'll give you the revised staff reports, and I'll turn it over to the Planning Commission.
I have a quick question for you first. I've never seen an address that's North Massachusetts Avenue and a half. Shouldn't it be 3106 and a half? Okay, I'm seeing a nod from Mr. Singh. So, okay, just wanted to ask because I've never seen that before. Okay, thank you.
Megan McCarthy with your Planning Commission staff. Next case is REZ 2627. This is located within the Central Tampa Planning District, the Tampa Heights Urban Village, and the Tampa Heights neighborhood. The subject site is located within Evacuation Zone D. This portion of North Massachusetts Avenue between West Plymouth Street and West Braddock Street contains single-family detached homes and vacant land. Additionally, directly to the north is a TECO utility substation. To the west, commercial uses exist along North Boulevard, and to the north and east are quasi-public spaces, including Woodlawn Cemetery, Plymouth Playground, and Graham Elementary School. The subject site is located within the Residential 20 future land use designation. Planning Commission staff has reviewed the application and found no adverse impacts to the surrounding neighborhood. This rezoning will allow for additional housing within the Tampa Heights Urban Village and meets policy direction for infill development on underutilized parcels. The comprehensive plan future land use category Residential 20 supports medium and low density residential development, including attached and detached single family as well as multifamily. Due to the mixture of uses within proximity to light commercial along North Boulevard, Planning Commission staff has determined that the proposed RM18 zoning district is both comparable to and compatible with the surrounding area and provides additional housing opportunities with connectivity to North Boulevard, a collector roadway with commercial employment opportunities. Based on those considerations, Planning Commission staff finds the request consistent with the comprehensive plan, and I'm available for any questions.
Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Stephanie Pope, Development Coordination. We'll start with an aerial view of the subject site and the surrounding area. You can see the subject site outlined in red on the west side of North Massachusetts Avenue. Here's North Boulevard, West Plymouth, and West Street. The subject site is surrounded by RS50 development on all sides, north, south, west, and east, with residential single-family detached units on the north, west, and south. And to the east is the Plymouth Playground. Further to the east is going to be that Woodlawn Cemetery. And once you travel a little bit more west towards North Boulevard, there are 4 RO residential office zonings and 2 planned developments to the northeast. Both of those planned developments are approved for business professional office uses. Next, we'll show a survey of the property. It's outlined in yellow. The property has a 50-foot frontage along North Massachusetts and 100-foot in depth. Since this is a Euclidean rezoning, there are no site plans or elevations. Next, I'll show some photos. Here's a photo of the subject site. This is north. This is looking north on Massachusetts. This is east, and this is looking at the Plymouth Playground. This is looking south down Massachusetts. This is south of the subject site. And this is west of the subject site. Development Coordination and Compliance staff reviewed the application and find the request to be inconsistent. The requested RM18 zoning district is inconsistent with the area's single-family detached development pattern and is therefore not an appropriate transition for the subject property near the center of this block to a more intense residential multifamily zoning. I'm available for any questions.
Any questions? Okay, thank you. Applicant.
Good evening, council members. I have a PowerPoint that hopefully will load up.
Oh, we
Maybe.
see it on ours.
We
Good,
maybe?
there you go.
Ah, we do.
Can
Okay.
you just start with your name for me?
My name is Matt Sink, 410 West Park Avenue. I'm the applicant and the property owner. This is actually one of the most exciting projects I've done for a long time because it's actually missing middle product in Tampa Heights, which kind of matches the original way the neighborhood was. Just to give a little bit of background, I've been in Tampa Heights forever. I actually have my office in there, and I specialize in that location. I also have a history of building thoughtful design in the neighborhood. So sometimes people see the things I built, and they don't even know they're brand new. So the goal is to always make sure that what we build matches the community and is respectful to the neighborhood and the heritage that we have. I also am pretty engaged with the neighborhood. I'm on the Tampa Heights Civic Association, and I'm also on the Land Use Committee for that. So the great thing about that is I get insight from the neighborhood on what they're looking for and what's important to them. Just to give you guys an idea of what our product looks like, these are 3 examples, and my job is to make sure that we are building and creating compatible housing within the Tampa Heights area. The reason I'm doing this request is that Tampa Heights, when we moved there, was an affordable place close to downtown, and it is very, very quickly becoming not affordable. And it's kind of sad to see our neighbors that live there no longer be able to afford it. So by going to RM18, it actually allows us the ability to do duplexes, triplexes, the missing middle product that we're all talking about to increase density and to bring the pricing of housing closer in line with what people can actually afford. So this is just an example of what a duplex looks like next to single family, next to just our eclectic neighborhood we have in general. The big unique thing about missing middle, and you guys all kind of know this, is that it's smaller scale and it's multi-unit, but it's still compatible in family-friendly neighborhoods. And we can do this by doing it a couple of ways. But essentially making the design appear and to be compatible with the neighborhood also allows us to address housing shortages. It increases density, which is great for public transportation. It's good for walkability. It's good for neighborhood engagement. Like, density is good in downtown. And it's also consistent with the character of Tampa Heights. Funny thing, this is kind of a misleading, I have to correct this slide a little bit, but if we look at the average sold price, multifamily is about $338 per square foot. Single family housing is about $414 per square foot. These are recent closings of homes built after 2025, so new home construction, right? And if you look at the average square footage, you'll see that multifamily is averaging around 2,300 square feet, and single families averaging close to 3,000 square feet, a little bit over 3,000 square feet. So the price per square foot is actually 20% less for multifamily versus single family. But if you also take in the consideration of the difference in square footage, you actually bring the cost of housing down 40%. So you're having lower price per square foot because you're splitting the land cost, and you're bringing the size of the square footage down, so you're reducing the price there. So you take something that is over $1 million in that neighborhood, and now we're bringing things down by 40%, which actually makes it somewhat more attainable in our market. So this is my passion, and this is why I kind of come in front of you guys trying to build missing middle in my neighborhood. The other really cool thing about this site is it is like the poster child of really good location. We are within walking distance to Route 1, which we all know is the #1 bus route in the city, right? Ola, the bike route just opened up, so now we're on a bike path straight into downtown. And if you go right across the park, right in front of Graham's place, the hostel, okay, so like our neighborhood's eclectic. We have a hostel/hotel in the middle of our neighborhood, so like not everything looks like what it does on a map. So basically we have every mobility option there is for people in under 4-minute walk. Like, that's fantastic. And I don't want to squander that site for something that doesn't maximize its use for the neighborhood. So R20 future land use is essential for missing middle, and so is RM18, so we can get the density in there. What that does is it reduces the cost for housing to have more units. It's a prime location for transportation and transportation alternatives, and it actually matches our pre-zoning layout of our neighborhood. We had multifamily in Tampa Heights forever. I mean, if you look through the neighborhood, it doesn't necessarily show up on a map, but they're all over the place. And so one of the supporting policies is to have density for transit-oriented development. Like, this is a great location for this. Compatibility, Tampa Heights, as we know, it's eclectic. It's not a one-size-fits-all. It's a village, urban village, so, you know, it's kind of how we operate. One of the goals is to have different uses and diversity of housing, and this does exactly that. And there's many examples of similar sites with R50 that are actually not on our maps. So I went and I looked at staff's finding, and their request for RM18 is inconsistent with an area of single-family detached development pattern. But I could not find any code that says that you can't have a different zoning mid-block. I couldn't find it. And it was not cited on the report, so I don't really know. I'm doing Euclidean, so we're not looking for any modifications. We're going for the Tampa Heights Overlay District. Like, we're gonna build within these guidelines. So I'm a little bit curious as to how we can have a consistency matrix that says R20, compatibility is RM18. Like, it's on the compatibility matrix. So for it to be found inconsistent was kind of jarring for me. But I wanted to give examples of kind of how this looks in our neighborhood. These are two examples. One's on Columbus and one's on Highland. These match our neighborhood. Like, we walk by these things and we see this variety every day. This is in the historic district. And this other one's up in Seminole Heights, but it's off of Chelsea, but it's a really good example of what good design looks like in historic districts. So, on a map, you might not see RM18 uses like duplexes, but actually one house down, if you look at the subject site, you'll see a star right below it. That's actually a duplex. If you go one block over, it's actually a duplex. If you go across the park, Graham's Place is a hostel. I mean, so our neighborhood is peppered with these different uses. They're non-conforming, but that's the way our neighborhood has always been. So I just want to say, like, show an example of this is kind of how they're peppered throughout our neighborhood. This has always been around. And this is what it looks like. So 3104, Unit 1 and 2, that's one house down. That's next to the blue house to the south. And it's been there as long as I've been there, so that's over 20 years. Graham's Place, because it's just fun. And then there's a triplex on Arlington that I think is really neat because it fits in the neighborhood really well. And it just kind of shows the variety that we have in our community. So supporting policy, oddly enough, the policy that they stated in the report is actually what supports it, which is RM18 residential multifamily is a district that provides primarily low and medium density residential uses, including single family and two family developments. This is exactly what we're going for. And I'd also like to say compatibility is not equal. It does not equate to identical zoning. It can still be compatible. It doesn't have to have the same zoning, but the way it feels in the neighborhood will feel good. Also, Tampa Heights Overlay District. So the intent of the overlay district that I actually was lucky enough to be a part of also supports that, which is promoting unique character, walkability, transit-oriented development, and housing options. I covered each one of these things by having a duplex across from a really good park in the middle of Tampa Heights. And again, the consistency matrix also shows us that R20 land use is compatible with RM18. I also presented this to the neighborhood because it's important to me. So I presented to the Tampa Heights Land Use Committee, and they showed approval for it, and it's on the record for the Civic Association Land Use Committee. So based on the information presented, I'm asking that council approve the rezoning from RS50 to RM18. And I'm here for any questions you guys might have.
Okay. Are there any questions? Okay. Do we have anyone from the public who wishes to speak to this item? Oh, you can come this way. That's fine. And you've both been sworn?
Yes.
You can each have 3 minutes if you prefer.
My wife will do it. She's Yeah. a better speaker.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm sex. I'm going to try to project.
No worries.
apologize for
If you want to both be on the record, just state both of your names.
My name is Michelle Osorio. And I'm Kevin Rosado. We live at 3105 North Woodrow. It is the property directly behind the proposed lot to the left of that property. So we believe that rezoning from a single family to a multifamily is incompatible with the overarching theme of the neighborhood's character. Most homes on that street are single family. He did mention the one exception that is directly next to that, but it is still zoned as RD50, as a single family home. As that area has grown, all new developments have made an effort to maintain the charm and character of that neighborhood, which includes being single family homes. Most of these new families have enjoyed the new charm and privacy. My home is one such example. So my lot was a smaller lot adjoining to a larger lot that became a single family home. It is about almost as wide as the proposed lot. There's only one elevated apartment dwelling, which he had reserved as 3104 North Massachusetts on that street. It is causing some height and privacy issues for us. It is directly behind us to the right. This is already an existing dwelling that I believe demonstrates the same difficulties that the proposed site would have. The site is not particularly wide, therefore its inhabitants, They tend to be a little loud, and because it's not a very wide area, they tend to have to park either in adjoining streets or directly across the street. There's a small area that's closed off to the back of the park that's usually locked, so they usually just park their cars right there. The height, I believe, that this new proposed structure would require to accommodate being a true multifamily home would infringe on the privacy found in our yard, as well as a yard to our neighbors next to us. The more likely scenario is that that lot is not being flipped to improve the needed housing, as there's a lot of houses in that area that are being flipped, especially older houses that are in need of a lot of tender love and care to be able to maintain the neighborhood. But instead that we're trying to cram as much people into that small lot as humanly possible. Another one of these properties that would be flanking ours would, I think, lessen the privacy for our neighbors and ourselves, as well as affect our property value, should we need to sell in the future. In addition, we fear that this would also cause significant precedent for future rezoning for older homes as they sell. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anyone else wish to speak? Okay, rebuttal.
Thank you guys for coming. Matt Sink, 410 West Park Avenue. I can put this up.
There you go.
So I love that people come and speak on this because I think it's important that we all come into something educated. And what this highlights is the difference between RS50 and RM18. And what you'll find is that the setbacks and the height requirements, the things that cause privacy, are going to be the same regardless if it's a single home or a multifamily. So you can go up to 35 feet no matter what, which means if you're on the second floor, you're going to be looking out windows. So if it's a single family home, there's going to be windows. If it's multifamily, there's going to be windows. So the difference on privacy actually is going to be exactly the same for our neighbors because we had to abide by the same rules. The other thing that was always mentioned is parking. I'm not asking for a parking waiver. We're not asking for any reductions in parking. We can make our designs work and make sure that we're holding appropriate vehicles on the site per Tampa code. So I just think I want to make sure that it's very clear that the setbacks are almost exactly the same. You'll go from 25 feet frontage and a 15 rear. I could probably see if they'll do a 20-foot setback if the city allows me, but I was trying to come into this with a clean, no waiver Euclidean zoning to make sure that I'm abiding by the Tampa Heights Overlay District and all the rules and regulations for RM18 without causing any heartache. So any questions? I'm more than happy to help.
Okay. Anyone have any questions? Okay. Is that it?
That's it.
Okay. A motion to close from Councilman Maniscalco, second from Councilman Vieira. All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Okay.
I'd like to read an ordinance being presented for first reading consideration, ordinance rezoning the property in the general vicinity of 3106 North Massachusetts Avenue and a half in the city of Tampa, Florida, more particularly described in section 1 from zoning district classification RS50 residential single family to RM18 residential multifamily, providing an effective date.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco, a second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
Motion carried unanimously with Clendenin being absent. Second reading and adoption will be held on May 7th, 2026 at 10 a.m. at Old City Hall, located at 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, Florida, 33602.
Okay. File number 8.
Again, for the record, Christopher DeMont, Development Coordination. Agenda item number 8 is REZ 2629. This is a request to rezone 2414 West State Street from RM16 to planned development for residential single-family semi-detached uses. I'll turn it over now to Planning Commission staff.
Thank you very much. It's a ceremonial thing. It's the magic.
Megan McCarthy, Planning Commission staff. Next is 2629. This is located within the Central Tampa Planning District, the West Tampa Urban Village, and the Armory Gardens neighborhood. The subject site is located within Evacuation Zone D. This portion of West State Street between North Tampania Avenue and North Armenia Avenue contains mainly single-family detached homes with scattered two-family uses. Multifamily, light commercial, and office uses are to the east. The State Armory, Villa Brothers Park, and the Shana and Brian Glazer Jewish Community Center are located to the south and southeast along North Armenia Avenue. The subject site is located within the Residential 20 future land use category. Planning Commission staff has reviewed the application and found no adverse impacts to the surrounding neighborhood. The rezoning would allow for additional housing within the West Tampa urban village and meets policy direction for infill development on underutilized parcels. The comprehensive plan future land use category residential 20 supports medium and low density residential development, including the proposed single-family semi-detached. The proposed PD would develop the parcel at 18.18 dwelling units per acre, consistent with the density anticipated under the residential 20 designation. Planning Commission staff has determined that the planned development is both comparable and compatible with the surrounding area and supports policy that allows single-family attached housing at slightly higher densities in single-family areas. The comprehensive plan supports the request's intention to promote a pedestrian-friendly environment through building orientation and the addition of sidewalks. Mobility staff indicated the adjacent alley does not meet the criteria for an open and in-use alley. However, access from the alley would be supported by the comprehensive plan. If approved, the request has the potential to provide additional infill housing within the West Tampa urban village, where the comprehensive plan directs the greatest share of growth. Based on those considerations, Planning Commission staff find the request consistent with the comprehensive plan, and I'm available for any questions.
Any questions? No? Thank you very much. Yes, sir. Come on up. Everybody left.
Again, for the record, Christopher DeBonch, Development Coordination. We'll start with an aerial of the subject site. Subject property is outlined in red on the aerial. It's located on the south side of West State Street. The subject block is located between North Tampania Avenue and North Armenia Avenue. Surrounding properties consist of single-family detached dwellings as well as single-family semi-detached dwellings. Zoning to the north, south, east, and west is all RM16. The property is also located in the West Tampa overlay. It's been reviewed by the urban design team for compliance with the West Tampa overlay development design standards. We do have a site plan provided by the applicant. The site plan shows a single structure containing 2 single-family semi-detached dwelling units. Each unit contains a 1-car garage as well as driveway. The front doors are oriented to West State Street. There's also a walkway path which connects to a proposed 5-foot sidewalk which will run east to west on West State Street. We also have proposed elevations. I'll show those. So we have the south elevation and the north elevation on this sheet. And then we have east and west elevations shown as well. And of course, the proposed elevations depict the 2-story structure. Proposed height is 31 feet 9 inches. And of course, these elevations do depict the residential character of the surrounding neighborhood. There is one waiver request with this application. It's to section 27-241. This is a request for vehicular access for units 1 and 2 to be provided from West State Street in lieu of the alleyway. And then we do have photos to show. This is the subject property. North of the subject property. Here's an additional photo north of the subject property. Just wanted to point out the semi-detached units that are within the neighborhood. South of the subject property. East of the subject property. And west of the subject property. We have another semi-detached unit. And then this is just another example along West State Street of a semi-detached unit that's available. Development Review and Compliance staff has reviewed this petition. We do find the request consistent with the applicable City of Tampa land development regulations, and I'm available for any questions.
I have a question. What is the reason for the waiver? Is there no alley?
There is an alley. It has been determined by urban design and transportation that this is an open but unused public alleyway.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Okay, any other questions? Okay, applicant.
Good evening, Council. My name is James Lascara, applicant of 2414 West State Street. We're requesting a rezoning from RM16 to planned development for single-family semi-detached. I live close to this project on Grace Street, and I'm also a neighbor of the community with a property on Cass Street, just 2 blocks away. We're a small developer in town, a 100% service-disabled veteran-owned small business, and the vast majority of our projects are located within the same overlay as this project, the West Tampa overlay. I'm encouraged to hear that the staff report was consistent in every department. The neighborhood has also been very receptive to this proposal. We received 8 letters of support from nearby residents with no opposition, all of which have been submitted into the record for your review. We also have had a positive engagement with the Civic Association, which I will elaborate on further in a moment. I wanted to mention the subject site is marked in blue here, and letters of support came from neighbors marked in green. In orange on this map is a property that it has a semi-detached use now, which is the same use we are proposing with this submission, and in yellow would be single-family detached use currently. I would like to read a petition following direct outreach and conversations with other members of this block on this street and longtime neighbors of the community. I spoke in detail with Hope and Lana Gonzalez, who are both sisters who live on the exact block of State Street and wish they could be here tonight, but were not able.
Just one moment. Can someone please silence their phone? Thank you. Go ahead.
But they were not able to meet in person, so I would like to read that now. To whom it may concern, I'm a longtime resident of this neighborhood, and I'm an active member of the community. I am writing to share my perspective regarding the proposed development, REZ 2629 at 2414 West State Street. I live on the same block. The alley south of State Street, due west of Armenia Ave, has not been in active use for over 25 years. Based on my long-term experience of the area and living in this community, utilizing this alley would be inappropriate in this area of the neighborhood. The alley is neither open for use nor used, and all vehicles access parking for the houses from the street, not the alley. The alley is not in accessible condition. We appreciate the developer taking the time to meet with members of the neighborhood and discuss any concerns. While we support the proposed development overall, we do not support the use or reopening of the alley. Despite being an alley that is not open as well as unused, allowing vehicle access through the alley would introduce increased traffic safety concerns, particularly where it connects to Armenia Avenue. We feel confident this would negatively impact us and our surrounding neighbors. For these reasons, we respectfully request that the alley remain unused as it historically has been. The undersigned neighbors share this petition and are in agreement with this request. That petition has been signed by 5 neighbors and was added into the record, which you all have access to. While there is distinct support for the development, there's a clear consensus regarding the alley. Every neighbor I spoke with does not support the use of the alley as part of this proposal. All signatories confirm that the alley is not currently in use, is not accessible, and that all homes access parking from the street rather than the alley. I also discussed with the Civic Association representative, Mr. Jeff Ball, and we had a great conversation in which I addressed his and the Civic Association concerns about the project. I want to discuss some of those concerns. The PD aspect of the proposal. Concerns of the nature of PD, meaning that a developer can do whatever they want with a site to include potential commercial use. I explained to him, and as we all know, this is just not the truth. Every PD zoning carries a specific use, which in this case is residential, single-family, semi-detached. PD is just the vehicle to achieve that. This inherently means the site would only ever be 2 units, very consistent with what already exists now. I think there's also a concern of PD projects taking over the neighborhood, which we also know cannot happen without every single one being approved before City Council. This review and approval process is inherently the safeguard preventing a scenario in which developers are running wild, doing whatever they want, which, by the way, I too don't want developers running wild and creating opportunities that are inconsistent with what exists in the neighborhood. I too am a neighbor of this community. Concerns of height through the PD. We are not exceeding the max height that's prescribed by code now and are not requesting any waivers for height, setbacks, or use buffers, including block front averaging for the West Tampa overlay and 5-foot side setbacks. Lastly, I want to take a moment to discuss the bonus provision agreement. Approval of the project carries significant benefit to the city in the form of a bonus payment. Because the mathematics of the dimension of the site, which is 50 feet wide by 96 feet deep, totaling 4,800 square feet, we are 40 square feet less than the required 4,840 square foot minimum required by RM18 zoning. So the only way for us to achieve 2 units on the site is to inherently go through the PD process. And in doing so, do a bonus agreement. The rezoning request is consistent with the surrounding area. There are multiple 2-unit properties in close proximity, marked in orange on the map, demonstrating that this type of development is both compatible and appropriate. I have included photos and maps with the subject property highlighted blue, which I explained. In closing, I respectfully request approval of REZ 2629. We've been marked consistent by city staff in every area. We have overwhelming support of neighbors along the street, which would be most affected by the proposal. The project represents thoughtful, aligned growth, addressing the need for missing middle in our community, and will bring new, much-needed housing opportunities to the neighborhood. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much.
I'm available for any questions.
Okay. Are there any questions? Okay. Anyone from the public wishes to speak on this item? Okay. Motion, do we have a motion to close? Oh, I'm sorry.
Ms. Sanchez has 7 names. Adrian Laramie, thank you. Mary Elaine Fumea, thank you. Marie Pike, thank you. Jamie Keats, did I say that correctly? Or Tammy? So, who lives at West Lemon Street? Okay, what's your name, please? Janice. Ah, nice. Anna Murray? I see several hands going up. I'm confused.
I'm Anna Murray.
Okay. And who is Janice? Is it Janice Katz? That was the last name? Okay. Debbie Zommerman? Thank you. And Anna Palaveda? Thank you. Total of 10 minutes, please.
Okay.
Please don't start my time till the handouts are given to everybody.
Is it possible for me to get a copy of?
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody got a copy?
Did you have a copy? Is there an extra copies?
Can I begin?
Whenever you are ready, 10 minutes.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Sandra de Diego Sanchez, and I live in Armory Gardens. This property is in the Armory Gardens community. It is a heritage community that is under the guidance of the West Tampa overlay. Before I ask you to deny this frivolous PD, I would like to tell you about the waiver. They are requesting a waiver that was approved by the zoning administrator based on erroneous findings by the mobility department. But first, I'll talk about the rezoning. On page 1 that I gave you is the zoning map, and this map is east side of Armory Gardens. Armory Gardens has an imaginary divide at Habana. The west side is RS 50, the east is older and under the West Tampa overlay. As you can see by the city zoning map, there are no PDs in the residential area of Armory Gardens, just on Armenia and Kennedy for commercial uses like doctor's offices and attorneys. The second listing is of the townhouses and triplexes that have been built in the community in the last few years. 26 of them, most of them after 2015. All of them were completed with RM16 or RM18 designation, no PDs necessary. The first item on the list are the townhouses that this developer built a few months ago. It's on the same street, a block away. He built under RM16 and abided by the guidelines of the West Tampa overlay with garage access through the alley. The petitioner cannot plead ignorance. He knew how much property would be needed to build 2 townhouses, and he knew the requirements for the West Tampa overlay. Additional information was also available to him through Acela. There was a certified survey from another developer that walked away from it. Section 27-136 of the Muni Code states, and I quote, PD coding is reserved for unique conditions. This lot is not unique. It is undersized. At roughly 4,700 square feet is typical small lot that has long supported one modest home. Size alone is not a unique condition. The hardship is self-created. The lot did not shrink after the purchase. The petitioner knowingly bought a single unit lot and now seeks a PD to sidestep the zoning rules. This is not what PD zoning is for. Calling this lot unique is simply an attempt to manufacture an exception. As the list shows, Armory Gardens supports townhouses and welcomes responsible development in our current zone density. The bonus request attached to the PD request opens a Pandora box for higher density. We have been able to add density with the current RM16 and RM18 that complements our neighborhood. The developer did meet with some of the immediate neighbors and the new elected president of the Army Gardens. He did not fully explain the dangers of the PD request, nor did he mention what the bonus density really meant. Not knowing this important detail, the neighbors thought townhouses would be okay. And I would agree if I didn't understand that the zoning would set up a very dangerous precedent. Now on page 2. This waiver is in direct conflict with the West Tampa overlay provision for alleys. Mobility reports that the alley is clear but unused. This is untrue. The alley is used. The mobility staff, the city planner, the zoning administrator do not reside in the Army Garden neighborhood. They have no local knowledge, and they do not understand the dynamics of traffic congestion on Armenia and how this congestion impacts the alleys and streets in Armory Gardens. The word unused is ambiguous at best. Our alleys are used, including this one. It would be clearer if there were standards for unused, but they are not. Let me be clear. This is a heavy buildup of yard waste in the center. But again, we are talking about yard waste that can be cleaned. The alley has no obstruction and there are no potholes. There are 2 alleys that are used in Armory Gardens. One is between North A and North B, and we have actually asked for a stop sign because the traffic is so heavy. This one is also used, not as much, but it is used. 10 homes have working gates to the alley and use it for access and unloading, and unfortunately, some residents also still dump, as well as strangers. The alley also functions as a walking route, believe it or not, as bad as it is. One of the neighbors that's here tonight actually walks her dog. She stated there are no metal, broken glass, or other hazards. I walked it as well, and I agree. This alley is 14 feet wide, and it is paved. I have driven through the alley several times in the last few weeks. My car was not damaged, nor was I. The last picture coming down that alley is me driving in the car. This decision was made by dorming administrator and not through a design exception, which means there was no signage and no notice to the neighborhoods. In the past, this would have been a design exception 1 and an ordinance placed in the property. The neighbors are no longer notified before the zoning administrators are now making decisions behind closed doors. Permits are being issued and they move forward. These waivers are in direct conflict with the purpose and intent of the West Tampa overlay and any other community overlay. The mobility reports highlights the West Tampa overlay and also references Muni Code 27-283-12. It says off-street parking standards. And I quote, if the alley is unimproved, the developer must improve the alley per Department of Public Works standards. or if the alley already being assessed by other properties on the block, the alley must be determined. Existing condition of the alley is able to support the additional traffic. The Department of Public Works may require the developer to improve the alley. Note, the developer improves the alley. This is not the first time that this has happened. Usually we don't find out until after that begins. If you look at the picture on page 4, this is another example. Mobility said that the alley was clear but unused. It had tall grass. As soon as the waiver was passed, the developer mowed the alley. The subs began using the alley to build, to stay off of Gray Street, and they had room for another car to pass. And if you will look at that picture, they decided it was more important to give them a waiver of not parking in the alley than the fire hydrant that's right in the middle of the two driveways that have been there. We worked and worked and worked to get the design exceptions to be signage to let communities know what was happening, especially a change in the West Tampa overlay. The Tampa overlay administration approves it if it is consistent with stated purpose and intent of the overlay. The purpose and intent includes structural orientation. The intent and purpose of the alley access section was to shift the vehicle access for new homes to the alley. Also, please remember, if there is a conflict with the West Tampa overlay, the West Tampa overlay is predominant. I have called code enforcement. I have asked them to come and help us clean up at that alley so that we can start using it as an alternate sidewalks. We have one sidewalk in Armory Gardens, and it's in Havana. I'm waiting to hear back from them. They were going to send somebody. I sent them the pictures, and I sent them the very worst pictures because I didn't want to misrepresent what needed to be done. Please consider denying this rezoning. This waiver does not comply, nor is it the true and accurate. This is not a hardship for the developer. The density is higher than the multifamily density the neighborhood embraces. The PD designation will set a dangerous precedent. As to the city and county staff finding it consistent, how can it be consistent if the required square footage that is needed is not there? The Army Gardens community should not be penalized for overreach of part of this developer, nor the bad decisions of the zoning administration. Please deny this rezoning. I'm available for questions if you have any.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else wish to speak? Hi, please start with your name. You have 3 minutes.
Sure. Okay, thank you. Good evening, council members. My name is Beth Cotter, and I'm a resident of Armory Gardens. I'm here tonight to respectfully oppose Mr. Lascara's request to rezone his 4,800 square foot lot from an RM16 to a planned development for the following reasons. First, RM16 zoning requires a minimum of 5,460 square feet to build a duplex. Mr. Lascara's lot is 660 square feet short of that requirement. Using a planned development simply to sidestep a basic minimum lot size standards undermines the integrity of the RM16 district and the purpose of having zoning rules in the first place. Second, planned development is intended for complex or unique sites. And this one is not considered unique. It's just, then there's no condition or unique condition or hardship. The lot is just smaller than the standard for a duplex. A PD for this reason alone would set the wrong precedent. Third, if this council approves a PD for this undersized lot, it will invite similar requests from all the other RM16 property owners. That creates a piecemeal approach, weakens the consistency of the zoning map, and opens the door to spot zoning. Our council has always emphasized predictable and fair application of zoning standards, and this request runs counter to that principle. Finally, the applicant is not being denied reasonable use. RM16 already allows a single-family home or other compliant residential options. The zoning does not prevent development. It simply ensures that new construction aligns with the standards that neighbors rely on to understand what can be built beside them. For all these reasons, I respectfully urge the council to deny this rezoning request and protect the integrity of RM16 zoning in our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else?
Hi again, Council. My name is Matan Claff. I appreciate you taking the time to hear me, and I just want to start with I am for this motion for the rezoning. I first met Mr. Excuse me. I first met Mr. Lascara when he came and knocked on my door. He was doing a project next to where I live on Fig Street, and at the time I looked through the peephole. It was a guy, pretty stiff, high and tight haircut. So I'm like, who is this guy just showing up to my house? I guess at the time he was still serving our country as a Navy SEAL. That was a few years back. And he sat me down and he was letting me know, like, hey, this is what we're doing in your neighborhood. I'm going door to door just to introduce myself. Do you have any like conflicts or like any issues with this? And can I address that directly? So I appreciated that. I didn't fully understand at the time what he was doing, but as he sat me down, I really understood. Why this one is also really important to me. My daughter's mom, Kaya Rivera, she lives next to the park, not too far. So we, as my co-parent, we take my daughter, Adaya, to that park, and I also play pickleball at the courts there. And we're about to sign her up for swim lessons at the JCC. So I feel like not only has the staff and myself, like said, it's really consistent with the findings, but adding density to these neighborhoods with spots near like the JCC and the park and other amenities is only helping walkability, which in my opinion, is just in line with Tampa, city of Tampa's growth. And I appreciate you guys listening and hearing me. Thank you. And sorry, I'm a nervous speaker in front of the crowd.
You did a great job. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Okay. Rebuttal.
Good evening, Council. James Lascara. I guess I'm a little bit confused with, I'm perplexed, honestly. We do 2 rounds of notice. We did get our notices accepted. This is the site today. I think there was, I don't know if that's able to be seen, but I think there was discussion about not receiving notices. We comply with all our notices. We did not miss any notices, so that was accepted by the clerk. You know, we meet with the Civic Association, we meet with the street, we meet with the people that are going to be most affected by this, and the ones marked in green support it. We received no opposition. I'm just a bit surprised to hear this evening. I do want to talk about the alley. We have developed in alleys before. We 2711 West State Street, 1320 West Arch Street, 1318 West Arch Street, 1112 West LaSalle Street, 1008 West LaSalle Street. These are all properties in the West Tampa overlay with similar plans where we are using the alley. We are reliant on staff. I think they do a great job. We are reliant on staff for that finding. In a situation where we have to make a determination, we are reliant on staff's finding to give us that information in compliance with code. I just want to read City of Tampa Code 27 TAC 241.E2C51, which is what governs alley use. This is what I am required to abide by when we are considering how we're going to develop in the city of Tampa. If an existing lot is adjacent to an open and used public alley, vehicular access to the site shall be provided from the alley as a primary vehicular access point, provided it meets the minimum standards. To make that ultimate determination, I am relying on staff. I am not able to make that determination on my own. I have my opinion, but I'm relying on staff. And I have an email from the transportation representative saying in February, based on the field visit to the alley in February, they do not find that the alley meets the criteria for an open and used public alley. I want to provide some photos of the alley. That's one set of photos. I'm scratching my head here understanding how we can call this used. In areas of the alley, between utility equipment, trees, brush, shrubbery, fence encroachments, overgrowth. Between all of that, there are areas that have less than 7 feet of clearance from what exists now. Here's another set of photos. Again, I'm struggling to understand how we can call this open and used, which is what code prescribes. Lastly, I want to talk about, I think safety is a really important thing when we consider developments. I want to talk about the safety concern. So what you see here is an approved PD that's on the corner for medical office use. If we are forced to use the alley, then we're going to be put in a situation where the one-way traffic traveling south down Armenia, the person coming, the vehicle B coming out of the alley is going to have about 100 feet of visibility. There's street parking there. The setback of that building is only 9 feet. It's a 40-mile-per-hour zone. 40 mile per hour is equal to 58.7 feet per second. I looked this up today from the Driver Research Institute. The response time for a driver for a side road intrusion from a vehicle starting from a stop is 1.73 seconds. So vehicle A, by the time they see vehicle B pull out of the alley, physically there's not a vehicle that could stop. They're going to hit them. It's going to cause a traffic safety concern. Vehicle B will pull out, not knowing vehicle A is in the lane. They only have 100 feet worth of visibility. Vehicle B can't see it. Vehicle A physically cannot stop in time once observing vehicle B. This is just an added reason why I do not think using the alley here is safe, applicable, consistent, or smart. The same situation we see for a vehicle that's turning into the alley from Armenia. It's just an unsafe situation. Across the board, staff finding was consistent, had an overwhelming amount of neighborhood support coming into this. I noticed on the nice lady's presentation, I noticed that she referenced something very builder-grade. We try our best to comply with the West Tampa overlay guidelines. Urban Design reviewed it and agreed, confirmed it was consistent, and here's a conceptual rendering that I will provide that complies with all of the West Tampa overlay guidelines. I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I have a question for Mr. Scott. Does anyone else have any questions for Mr. Scott? Oh, I'm sorry, Councilwoman Young. No, I'm Sharon, so I always forget. So go right ahead.
I just wanted to staff.
Okay.
That's what we're asking now.
Yeah.
Yes. Hi. Could you just speak to the alley?
Do you want
development
coordination or?
Yeah, transportation.
Jonathan Scott, Mobility.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we were in support of the waiver since I had the opinion that alley was open but not used.
Mm-hmm.
It's based on the evidence at the time of our inspection of it, which was in February
Mm-hmm.
this year. So I provide this evidence that I took when I was out there. You can see it's pretty overgrown. There's all kinds of debris in it, it's, there is pavement in there and it is open, but that's not like part of the West Tampa overlay, the whole thing of where they're talking about where it's used in the past. I'm sure it was used at one time in the past, but to say that that's part of that definition, we don't look at that. I was directed to, look at it at the time of, we look at it. That's how we have to look on it. Because, it probably was used at some point in the past, But that's how it came to that opinion. But I highly respect the neighborhood, and their opinion too, so. If that answers your question.
Yes. So and I just to confirm, so the pictures that were provided, would this be the same alley that we're looking at here?
That is correct.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right.
If I could just add, Chris DeMonch, Development Coordination. I was actually out at the site this morning. I walked the alley from one side of the block to the other. And of course, I took pictures as well. The other thing I would note too is that as you walk down this alleyway, there is fencing behind each of the homes. So, you know, with the exception of the PD zone property at the end of the block, I don't recall any other lots that did not have fencing aligning the alleyway. You would see an occasional gate on the fencing, but it was basically chain link, wood, and PVC fencing. As you walk down that alleyway, there was significant brush. There were some trees that are adjacent to that alleyway. I will say there was a neighborhood enhancement team out there. They're in some of the photos. You can see them in the distance. I can add them to the record, but I asked them about that, and I was told that once a year they go out there, they remove debris, trash, and then they go through with the mowers. But, you know, as you walk through that alleyway, there are areas where there's significant vegetation and growth there where you're not even seeing, you know, the pavement. You can see it on the ends mainly, but as you're walking through, it's heavily vegetated.
Okay. Anyone else?
No, I can just say this.
Miranda.
I moved to West Tampa in 1968, and now I'm questioning myself. Am I in violation? And because in 1968, when I bought that house, in fact, your grandfather lived behind me.
1972.
1970, he moved in 76, but I was there since 68. And we shared the same chain link fence. I don't know if it was an alley there or not. When I got there was no alley. That doesn't mean that a year before me there was an alley. So I don't know if even I'm in violation now from 1968. I'm telling you the truth. So West Tampa is a hodgepodge of alleys, all of it. Some are 12 feet, some are 6 feet, some have big trees in the center, and some have no trees in the center. And some you can't see through them. So what I really want to fix is alley situation. I know the city's done an alley study before somewhere, but I really like to know what is it that we're looking at? What is it that we need? Because these alleys, I was going to take some time and measure every alley in West Tampa, and I just don't have the time. But I was going to do it, and I still may do it because there's something in my mind that I got to clear out. I understand the neighborhood, but I understand the other side. I'm as confused as I was when I moved to West Tampa now. In Ybor City, there was alleys. And you know what they were used for? The garbage was picked up there. And you know what? They had 4 people in the truck. 1 driver, 1 catcher, and 1 thrower from each side. And that was it. And it was open. That was real nice. Now it's automated, much more advanced. But these are the things that I've got to figure out for myself because it's been bugging the hell out of me. That's it.
Okay. Anything else? Because I know applicant gets last word.
James Lascara, I do want to mention one last thing with Alley. The nice lady talked about how we developed at 2711 West State Street. I think we need to be realistic about what really happens when we force owners to use the alley when they are not well kept by neighbors, they're not well kept by the city, and we can say, hey, whose responsibility is it? We have to face reality. What you're looking at is a finished unit of ours after it was sold. I think this was taken about a year after it was sold, and what you'll notice is, why is the grass dead right there? The reason the grass is dead right there is because they park, that owner parks, I believe they park their cars in the right-of-way, because getting access to the rear parking that's facing the alleyway is too cumbersome based on how much it is overgrown and just not kept up with. They're going to scratch their vehicles pulling through the alley, and so they go to the next most available thing. And so we actually see this quite a lot. I live in West Tampa Overlay. You see this quite a lot, people parking in the right-of-way. And when we're forcing developers to use the alley, we can do it, right? Like, it is possible to put a garage, it's possible to put a driveway out back, and then we have this. And I just think this is a block away from the proposed site. This is 2711 West State Street, and the site that I'm referencing is 2414. So I think we just need to face reality with these alley challenges, and this is not really what I want to see in the community. People parking in the front Once there's a new owner there, that they're gonna do what they're able to do. I don't think alley use in this circumstance is warranted. I don't.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco. I have a second from Councilman Carlson. All in favor? Aye. It is now closed. Who's up? Councilmember Carlson. Councilwoman Young.
Okay, file number.
And before I start, I'm sorry, I just wanted to let you know that I've been made aware that Councilman Vieira had to leave for a family emergency. So I did inquire about where he went. Okay.
Okay, file number REZ-26-29, resolution, ooh.
Nope, not the resolution, just the ordinance.
Sorry, wrong piece of paper. Okay, there we go. Ordinance being presented for first reading consideration, ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity of 2414 West State Street in the city of Tampa, Florida, and more particularly described in section 1 from zoning district classification RM16 residential multifamily to PD plan development residential single family semi-detached, providing an effective date.
Okay, so I have a motion from Councilwoman Young, a second from Councilman Maniscalco. Before I go any further, you can just show me thumbs up or thumbs down. We didn't have a revision sheet. I didn't. Okay, I didn't. I just wanted to make sure. Okay, so do we want to do a roll call vote for this? Yeah, thanks.
Young?
Yes.
Carlson? Miranda?
No.
Maniscalco? Hurtek?
Yes.
Okay, motion carried with Carlson voting no.
Does not carry. Yeah. No, we only have 3.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Sorry, everybody. It's late. Sorry. Yeah.
So,
motion.
Mr. Shelby, what do we do in the case of a 3-2 vote?
If in a vote, this is Rule 6H, if a motion in a quasi-judicial matter fails to receive at least 4 votes, the motion fails. And if another motion in order is not made, the public hearing shall be automatically reopened and continued to a time certain at the next regularly scheduled council meeting.
So, regularly scheduled, which would be next Thursday. So, and when would that be, at the 10 or the 10:30?
I suspect it would be.
It could be put at a time certain.
Well, I know, but that's what I'm.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of how we do it.
April 16th?
Customarily, I guess we do it at 10 a.m. It would be for the first readings.
Yeah, okay.
Just be a 10, so.
Ooh, that is a packed agenda. Okay.
So it would be a continued first reading on a 3-2 vote.
Do we need a motion? It's all
Why don't we announce
Well,
it for the purposes of the public?
Yeah, can you can you announce the vote, and then I actually do want to ask the applicant and make sure they're available that day.
Right.
Okay. So the motion failed due to lack of vote of 4. So it was Young, Maniscalco, and Hurtek voted yes, and Carlson and Miranda voted no, with Vieira being absent at vote and Clendenin being absent. And what else did you need me to?
That's correct.
That's good? Okay.
Okay, Mr. Lascara, are you available at 10 a.m. on April 16th, this next Thursday?
Yes, ma'am. Will already be here.
Okay. And Mr. Shelby, is this one of those things where we don't redo the whole case? We just ask those 2 to watch the hearing and then be ready for a vote? Is that how this works?
Yes, and I will ask both their offices to make sure that they've had the opportunity to review this and be able to be prepared to vote.
Okay, and then we have the extra handouts too that we can leave in their boxes.
Okay, that'll be good. And the issue is, just for the purposes of the public, if you just want to announce again, it'll be the date and time and place.
Will be April 16th at 10 a.m. in City Council Chambers, 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, Tampa, Florida 33602, 3rd floor.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. We still have some business, though, so as you all leave, if you could do so quietly, we would greatly appreciate that. Councilman Carlson, do you have anything? Councilwoman Young?
I do. First, I am going to share this. You may have already received it in your emails, but in the event that you did not, this is for you.
Thank you.
So I have been asked to do a motion or request by the Planning Commission to remove TACPA 24-04, 24-05, and 24-06 from the May 28, 2026, 5:01 p.m. adoption public hearings. So yeah, that's the motion.
Do you have a copy of that for the clerk?
Yes, I have. I was going to read
and for
it.
me, and for
because this copy is for you. Give to clerk after you did your motion.
Yeah, she's good. She's on it. So, yeah, and will you just explain to the public why we have to?
Yes, so this is from our comprehensive plan amendment, and pretty much, we were going through, making the changes to the comprehensive plan, and it had to be sent to Tallahassee, and they look over and see, what we can and cannot do, and so TACPA 2506, that's capital improvements, recreation and open space, solid waste, intergovernmental coordination and definitions. 24-04 is the future land use section, and then 24-06 is the coastal management section. So,
and yeah, Councilmember Carlson.
I emailed the Planning Commission back and said, can you give us your analysis of this and why they did it? And Ms. Ornita said that it's going to take them some time to do that. I would rather have them come and report on that before we do this, because I'd like the public to see what's happened on this. I think the documents they sent over were insufficient.
But the point is that we can't continue. We can't have the hearing.
That's fine. I think we should just delay the hearing.
And that's what this is.
It's saying we can't.
No, but what I want to do is have you're rescheduling it, right?
Well, so the motion was to remove those three from the public hearing. So I guess to not even.
So I'd rather hear from them as to what happened with these before we. There's so much crazy politics happening between the city and the Planning Commission that I think the public needs to hear what happened on these before we have a hearing. We should just not arbitrarily pull them out.
Hey, Denny Collins with your Planning Commission staff. So this motion is to remove these amendments, TACBA 2404, 2405, 2406, and 2506 from the May 28th agenda. As it stands now, those amendments can't move forward. We are currently working through a response to the state in their letter. So stay tuned with that. If you would like us to appear, we can certainly accommodate that. That probably would have to be a separate motion, I would think. So.
Yeah, so would that work for her to take them off and for you to make a motion to having them come at that time anyway and explain where they are?
I mean, there's no.
I mean, I get that. It's just to explain why it's being.
But my thing is that we keep hearing that we have to rush this because we're out of bounds with the state. But this is so political. There's so many problems with it that I don't think we ought to rush anything. If we hear Ms. Ornita's analysis before May 28th, then I think we should reserve the right to cancel that hearing or move it farther in the future.
We're canceling it. That's the whole point.
No, he said you're just taking those three things out.
Yeah.
We're canceling
We're removing them from the agenda.
Yes, so the motion was to remove TACPA 2404, 05, and 06 from that May 28th meeting.
They haven't been, if I can, may I be heard, please? Martin Shelby, City Council Attorney, they have to be also, it has to be reset, obviously, somewhere down the line, and it has to be properly noticed and go through the process. What this does is this stops the process of what has to be set for the notice
The
and
way,
the like.
the way, and you guys may correct me, but the way I read it is that we're removing these, but there's still something else that's being presented. If there's nothing else being
No.
presented,
No,
then
there's
fine,
nothing else
okay.
being presented.
No, we can't present, they can't go forward until they find out, or can't, until they figure out why the
I thought they were
state said
moving,
no.
I thought they were removing 3 things from a longer list. If
No,
not,
no,
if
no.
this is a total list.
If you take a look at the calendar, I'm sorry to interrupt, but if you take a look at the calendar, Councilmember Carlson, at the bottom of the page for the May 28th, it's an adoption hearing section for the night meeting of the evening session of May 28th. This motion is to remove those, so they will not be noticed and there will not be anything heard relative to this
Right.
item
Sorry for
until
the
it comes back at such time as it is presented by the Planning Commission.
Right. And we would reschedule the adoption hearings if we can in the future. Right now, we're just kind of working through our response to DOC.
Okay, so I have a motion from Councilwoman Young. I have a second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, can though we ask that once you have an idea that you try to set something on one of our agendas, even during a regular council session, and just kind of explain it to the public? I think people would really
definitely
appreciate
we
that.
can do that. I don't have a date right now.
Oh, no, that's what
like,
I'm just
yeah, we
saying,
can-
reach out to us when you're at that spot.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, great.
Yep.
Anything else?
Okay. And lastly, I'm gonna make sure for, for the public, April 20th is the East Tampa Town Hall, 6:30 to 8 p.m. Doors open at 6. It's going to be at Fair Oaks Community Center. I hope you all had a great Easter. I went to 2 Easter egg hunts at Reagan Park and Cascadian Park. Which
How
was
many
hilarious.
eggs did you find?
None of them. The kids got them all. They had 2,000 eggs out
You
there
didn't
in
get
the park.
one?
They let the kids go, and I was like, wow, that's a lot of eggs. Like, oh, they'll be done in 5 minutes. I was talking to a parent, and I looked around, and all the eggs were gone. So but it was very nice. It was very, very cute. I attended the Tampa Bay Black Chamber of Commerce Business and Health Fair event, which they had free blood pressure checks and small business opportunities, small information for small businesses. I had a conference call. I was on the conference call with the Homeless Initiative Committee. I don't know if you all remember, I think 2 meetings ago, there was a gentleman who came and spoke from the Highland, he lived in Highland Pines, so I had a meeting with them. Well, we all were there, but we put our signatures on the expansion project for the Strass Center, so that was very fun. I also attended the East Tampa CAC meeting, which was good, and I saw Councilman Vieira. We went to the Sip, Smile, and Support Autism event in partnership with CUP, which is Coffee Uniting People. I've also I have some meetings with USF regarding additional internship opportunities, actually having interns in my office throughout the year, so I'm really looking forward to that. And then we all were, at the Hope Cottages, at Tampa Hope, adding 100 new cottages, so that was my first time actually getting to see that space, so it was very nice.
Isn't it amazing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, Martin Shelby, City Council Attorney. I just want to follow up on your town hall at Fair Oaks in District 5. That is not a noticed meeting of council, so it's for Councilwoman Young, but if you do, or if a council member, more than one council member should be in attendance, just please be mindful of the Sunshine Law, as you always are. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Maniscalco.
Yes,
It's the motion, I just read it from oh, that's just additional information. Oh, that's okay, sorry.
so I noticed that on our regular agenda for next Thursday, April 16th, it says here, Board and Administration appointments regarding the Natural Resources Advisory Committee. And the clerk will,
I have a motion for that, if you want to read it.
okay, and because I have it on the workshop.
Yeah. So, Kelly and I wanted to, I wanted to make a motion to move it to 4 weeks after, because
4 weeks after the workshop.
Because the problem is the workshop, we're going to be redoing what it's going to look like. And so we won't be able to vote right then because we won't know how many seats we have.
Okay. Let me make sure that this is okay. Okay, all right, I make them, I'm just looking at the dates.
I love it. No.
No, making sure that the dates are okay,
Yeah,
so
we
May.
couldn't do the week
okay.
after because it was too busy.
Okay, so at the 4/23/26, April 23rd workshop, we will discuss the Natural Resources Advisory Committee resolution appointment process in staggered terms. Currently, resolutions to confirm mayoral appointments and to present to City Council appointee applications for the NRAC are scheduled for April 16th, 26. So I move to continue the resolutions to confirm the mayoral appointments and to present the City Council appointee applications for the Natural Resources Advisory Committee. Move those from April 16, 2026 to the May 21st, 2026 agenda, so the appointments will occur after our workshop discussion. And I have a copy.
Well, yeah,
but
but
it's
I
part
have
of
another
another
motion
thing.
on it, so. Okay,
Thank
so I have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco, a second from Councilman Carlson. Any comments? Yes, Mr. Shelby.
It was brought to my attention that the applicants, and you got the email that had their applications, have been informed of that date that was previously
Well,
set.
now
So-
we can send them an email saying, sorry.
Well, okay, I'm just hoping that we can follow that up so that they don't do that.
Okay, so I will ask the clerk's office to send those, or whoever is responsible for gathering them could send emails out. Would be great. Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, anything else?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've had, since Riera's not here, I've got 3 of them.
Okay.
One, I like a recommendation, a combination, not a recommendation, combination of 3 individuals who have succeeded in the business of being jockeys. And that lived in Tampa one time, and one still lives in Tampa. That's Ramon Perez, and he won 2,700 races. That's a long career. The next one won 3,200 races, and his name is Gilberto Rivera Jr. And the third one won 3,700 races, about 88 million in earnings, including 6 grade 1s and 38 grade 2s. Those are like the derbies and that kind of races. And at one time, he lived just behind on Hillsborough Avenue on the other side by the post office that's on Hillsborough, and the fire station right behind there. So he lived in Tampa for a while. And I'd like to make this, if possible, on May 21st. I will give this to the clerk's office because my aide is not here today at night, and that's number 1.
Second,
Okay.
is that Ramon that I
Yeah,
know?
the singer.
So,
Oh, really?
So
Yeah.
do you, you have to have known my cousin, Bill Hartack.
Sure, and Bill Hartock and I worked together.
See?
He didn't like to be called Bill, though. Or
well.
Willie. Oh, he hated Willie. Oh,
Yeah,
I used to harass him.
I have another cousin that's
I didn't know he was your cousin.
Yeah, yeah, he's,
Yeah, we worked together in Tampa.
yeah, and then I have other cousons that work at the racetrack down in Hialeah that manage horses.
This is why I married a woman from West Virginia, because everybody knows everybody around here.
It doesn't matter where you go.
I got news for you. You go to West Virginia, everybody knows everybody in West Virginia.
It's really funny because you go anywhere in Miami and I went to some random
worked
place
with
and
him.
someone
I
was like, "Oh,
He's in
Hertack,
the
are you related
he's
to
in the Hall of
Danny?"
Fame. So is Walter Blum. I work with
Yeah.
him also.
Yeah, Danny Hertack is my cousin down in Hialeah who's works anyway. So we have a motion to give 3 commendations.
Yeah.
And we have a second from Councilman.
From Hertack.
It's May 21st. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Second, there's, and I have it in the office, and I'll give you these 3 in the morning because she's not here. Second, there's when you go and apply for remodeling of a house, you say, I want to remodel 2 bedrooms, this, that, and the other, and they give you the permit. Neighbor comes to see me the other day, lives on the other side of the block, and tells me, Charlie, that house got about 8 bedrooms. So what they've done, they remodeled, I don't know, I didn't go in the house, but I saw the house change completely. They closed in the garage doors, they closed the doors, they do this, that, and the other. When I'm told that it's got bedrooms that are split now, and I guess they're gonna rent them out by the week in a residential district. I don't know what that makes the house any different or any better or not worse. But I'd like to find out what can be done at the time of permitting when they say, I want to just remodel my 2 bedrooms or whatever. You got to go in and inspect them because to make sure that they don't make it a motel. That's what I'm saying.
So what's your motion?
I don't know yet.
Oh, okay. So why don't you talk to staff? But I agree. I've seen the same thing.
There's something we have to do to look at them at least.
Yeah.
I just want to bring that one up to us. The next one are the alleys.
Well, I actually have a similar story. When I was, I did a ride along with fire rescue. This was back when I could, and we went to a house that it was subdivided, and you would have had no idea. But you walked in, and there were numbers on the doors. I mean, it was wild.
Let me tell you something else. I guarantee you, there's hundreds, and
Oh, yeah. I don't
hundreds,
doubt
if not thousands. in
But I
West
had
Tampa
never
alone
seen that.
that do not have rental certificate.
Yep.
They're not paying no high taxes. They're not paying anything, and they're just taking no income tax, no nothing.
Yep.
And when you have a rental property, you pay about 22% to the feds, and you pay to the city. If it's 1,000, you pay the city about 3,500, or thereabouts the difference. But anyway, that's a day for another story.
Yeah.
But that'll be looked at. And then the alleys. I don't know how to measure the alleys. I mean, I have a tape, but am I going to walk all of West Tampa measuring alleys?
Well,
somebody's got to look at these alleys, because once that one size shoe doesn't fit everybody.
Well, what I did, I wrote down a note from that in the land development code, we need to have standards for alley usage.
Yeah,
Because right now we don't have,
No, there's
apparently
not.
we don't have measurable ones.
And
So
then
I agree.
Are they passable? Some have big oak trees. What are you going to do with the oak
Didn't-
trees?
Councilman Carlson?
Didn't we, in the CRA, didn't we put a fund to
But
clean
now
them
West
up?
Tampa, all of West Tampa's not under CRA.
Yeah, it was only
okay.
the
Only a small
alleys of
portion
West,
of it is.
some of West Tampa that's in the CRA. So that was, the idea for that was to be the pilot program, and that we might be able to do it in other places, but we never went to the second step, which is what really should be the standard, and what are so I think that should be part of the land development code as we go forward. Ms. Wells, that's an appropriate place to put that, right? You can just thumbs up, thumbs down. Oh, okay.
Well, Kate Wells with the legal department. I'll work with staff to see if that's something that should be in chapter 27 or in the transportation code.
Okay. Yeah, I would really appreciate that, because I think that the LDC, you're right. I mean, we need to figure out some standards, so we're not here constantly asking. And unfortunately, I mean, the developer had the email, like with staff saying it was unusable. So anyway, okay. Anything else? Yeah.
I was just gonna ask, do we have anything, or have we done a study just to see like what alleys we can actually use and what can't be used? Do we have something
That
like
was the West Tampa, that was their CRA study.
But that was just only the part of the CRA, only the part of West Tampa that was in the CRA.
Again, it was supposed to be a pilot. It was, if I remember, about $350,000, so it wasn't cheap. So.
But we do have that, at least that area, we know what alleys
yeah.
can be used and can't.
So I would recommend asking Cedric for a copy of that report.
Okay.
It's actually a great report, and it'll give you some ideas on what can and can't be used. There's also, I think there's a couple of projects they're doing to activate some of those alleys. So that might be a good way for you to, and can I hand the gavel to you?
Okay.
Okay, whatever. So I have a couple of things. She just put the second one on here. So the Hillsborough County School Board voted on Tuesday, April 7th, 2026, to change Sulphur Springs K-8 school to K-5 and move the 6th to 8th graders to surrounding middle schools beginning in the 2027-28 school year. The PTSA president expressed concern about the lack of safe routes to the middle schools. The school board stated that they would reach out to city staff to talk about building sidewalks. So I moved to have mobility staff reach out to the Hillsborough County Public School System about creating safe routes to the schools by filling sidewalk gaps. Please provide a written report on 6/18/26 to include a map of the current gaps, a projected timeline for completion, and the estimated budget need.
We have a motion from Chair Pro Tem Hurtak, and the second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I think we did a version of this several years ago.
Okay.
It didn't go anywhere, but they probably have that they can pull off the shelf too.
Yeah, I'm just looking for this specific school to go from Sulphur Springs to whatever the particular school is.
We had the problem that there are lots of schools that don't have that sidewalk, and as with a lot of things, we have to get the administration to implement them.
Yeah.
What's next?
Okay, now I did what I said I was going to do at the CRA, figured out a date for the Raise MOU workshop. The best date we could have was May the 5th. It has been cleared with the convention center, the clerk's office, and CCTV. So it is available. We can have it at the convention center on that date. And I hope
we have to advertise at the library.
Yeah, well, we will, and that's the whole reason we're trying to have this conversation tonight. So I have several questions that Ms. Scharf prepared. Start time, is 5 o'clock too early? Is 5 o'clock fine? Should it be 6 o'clock? What do y'all think?
5 is fine. It's because it's the standard that we have for evening hearings.
We used to do 6, but now that people are used to 5, we probably should.
Okay.
Yeah, keep it consistent.
Okay, so 5 p.m. Workshop agenda. Immediately after talking about this, staff called, what do you want to do? How is this supposed to be? And it's like, we don't know yet. The whole point is just to get a date.
And I haven't read the document yet, but the news.
I haven't either.
The news media is saying it doesn't have numbers in it. So I wonder, we can set this up, but if we don't have something substantive, then we might look to shift it all.
Sure, but again, because of we have to have 2-week notice, we at least need to get it started. Now, so these are just questions I'm going to throw out, and if you don't have answers tonight, that's fine. Ms. Scharf will send it out to everybody so they can think about it more, because we really need to think. We need to make some decisions at least by next Thursday. First question is, who would you want to participate? City staff, legal, county representative, the Rays?
I think you need them all.
Okay. So, so these are just things to think about. What would the workshop agenda item be?
Well,
And do we want to go down the path of getting an independent legal opinion about the CIT, or do we want to wait until the county has done so?
Yeah, because the county has their workshop next week, correct?
No, it's not the workshop. They have gotten an outside independent legal to make a determination on whether or not they can use the CIT money on a stadium.
That was the Commissioner Meyer motion, correct?
I don't know.
I think she brought it up, but when do they get the response to that? At their next board meeting?
I don't know.
I think we ought to wait for them to finish, if it's not a long time from now.
Okay.
Because that way, we don't have two conflicts, then we got another problem we create of what happening then.
So do you have any other questions that you want us to consider? Because I'm going to write these down. Like I said, Ms. Scharf will send them out to everybody so we can be thinking about it. And what I would like to do is put this under old business on Thursday so we can at least try to...
Can I take the week to think
Oh,
about
yeah,
what
yeah, no,
questions,
that's
and
totally
on
fine.
that Thursday, meaning
Yeah.
a week from
Yeah,
today,
we
I
can-
will have more substantial questions.
Sure, and we can have more answers. I mean, also, if you want to send questions to Kelly, maybe I can have her.
And when does the
coordinate
county
them?
have their workshop? Is it Wednesday or Thursday?
Wednesday, I think, is when they
Yeah,
work. don't they?
Wednesday. So we might have some answers by next Thursday.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, what is the date of the county's workshop?
I think it's Wednesday.
April?
Is it Wednesday? Yeah.
I think, I don't remember. I think if you look at the emails that came today, and the county administrators and legal people are saying the same thing the
Yep.
city are saying, that this came from the Rays, and none of them have reviewed it yet, county
Yeah.
or city.
Yeah.
I know the county was involved in negotiating it. Allegedly, John Bennett was involved in it, but I don't know. So I think the main thing for us in a workshop is for us to hear from the public, hopefully, but also to talk to each other about some of the deal points,
Yeah.
at least in concept, because we can't talk to each other outside of the public hearing. So at least we can talk about it in concept. Some of the things I mentioned this morning that I suggested as ideas, you guys probably had other ideas or better ideas, and we can all talk about them, and if we could organize the in deal points, for example, how much money, what should and then look at each bucket individually. There's a lot of resistance to CIT. I think I have a lot of questions about CRA. If they build up what they say they're going to do, I think they're going to generate a lot more in the CRA than they said they were going to build originally. And one of the ideas I had was, how about if the CRA goes above that, if we use the CRA to buy down the CIT, and they're saying that's not possible. But
That series is not gonna do more than what it's doing now.
no, but they're going to be. It's like if you put a CRA around Water Street.
Yeah.
Water Street's generating like $20 million a year now. It might take 10 years for it to generate something, but if they do it.
Yeah.
And then the issue is bonding, because you have
Yeah.
to talk about interest rate, and if we bond it, then we're taking the upfront risk.
I'm not disagreeing with you, but Bonnie's got an advantage. that what you're buying today at one price, 30 years from now is at another price to build.
Yeah, yeah,
So if you build, you get your money back on your interest if you built it right.
yeah.
Long term, you're net, it should be net zero,
Well,
in my
and
opinion.
that was one of my questions was if, I mean, the Rays are saying that if we build this, or if we give them some money, that we will never have to do any type of maintenance. And with the Bucks cost being, they're throwing, I heard $1 billion.
It's 850 million.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying that in the long run, that might pan out for us.
You know,
But these are just questions. These are just
I
questions. So,
understand. Listen,
so do these questions work as
what
beginning?
we're not considering,
Yeah, I want to think about it.
Okay.
what we're not considering, since I always think of the weirdest things, they're a business, and we've never done that to any other
I
business
agree.
other than sports.
I agree.
So who we waking up?
And,
Yeah.
and just because I ask questions doesn't mean I'm for or against it. I just want to hear the
Nope,
answers.
I'm the same way.
Hey, one thing, maybe if you all are interested, I'll make a separate motion, but I talked to a couple of the members of the Sports Authority, and they also said that that had not seen anything until this afternoon. I wonder, since they've been deeply involved, that they've asked a lot of questions.
Do you want to invite them too?
Sports Authority, I wonder if we could ask them to, I can make a motion in a minute if you want, but we could ask them to review it and give us their feedback to come before us at some
That's
point.
fine.
Sure. I mean, why don't we have them do
Come
it
before.
at that workshop?
Or before, if possible, so it could inform what we're going to talk
Okay.
about.
The county commission workshop is April 16th at 1:30, that's Thursday.
April 16th at 1:30.
Well,
Wow, during the middle of the day. See,
Those commissioners.
I know. It's also during our meeting. But so right now, are we okay with just at least saying the
Set the date,
date?
yeah.
May
Yeah.
5th, 2026, 5 p.m. at the convention center. And
Yes.
obviously, we can nail down the actual space in the convention center and all of this stuff. I will go ahead and have, Kelly, will you just send out these brief email or questions? And then if everybody wants to build on it, maybe on
Yeah.
Thursday, I think we should continue to talk about this every meeting as we learn more information so that we at least
just let Marty advise us on the process so we don't break sunshine.
well, I mean, if we're talking here, we're not breaking sunshine.
No, but even if you're going to be sending things to
No,
Kelly.
no, no, no. Kelly's going to send out the questions. Everyone's going to collate their own and bring them back.
Okay.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
fine.
we're not
Yeah.
I have a question. Are there
Oh,
any, sorry. We don't have any events or anything going on downtown around the convention center on that day. So
Cinco
But
de
we
Mayo?
checked with the yeah,
Okay.
that's what Kelly's been doing all day, has been double checking with all sorts of
Okay.
people. So they did. I'm sorry, Sam did that. He reached out to convention center and made sure that the date worked.
So are you
Okay.
making a motion?
Yeah.
Yeah, my motion. Yeah, sure.
To
My
set-
motion
set
is
the
to
Yeah,
set a
second.
date for the Raise MOU workshop on May 5th, 2026, 5 p.m. at the convention center, and I don't know that address. So.
Second.
It's for,
Okay.
yeah. We have a motion from Chair Pro Tem Hurtak, second from Councilmember Carlson. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Anything else?
Okay. Nope.
Can I make
But-
one other?
Oh, sure.
Just the motion, could I make a motion to ask the Sports Authority to review the MOU and to report back to us with their recommendation?
I think you might be hard pressed to put a date on it without clearing it through them.
Well, yeah. Why don't you just put May 7th is packed.
You have until next Thursday. You can make the motion next Thursday
Yeah.
after you talk to them and check.
Well, let's at least ask them to send us a written response.
How about April 23rd? Or a written response, we could get May 7th.
It'd be better if they could come in person. What was April 23rd?
April 23rd has room. May 7th does not.
So to ask them.
Actually, I'm sorry. April 23rd is the workshop. Never mind.
Yeah, that's what.
We could do a written on May 7th, but that would be after May 5th.
Just ask them to come back with a written report, and then they can send it when they're ready. So my motion is to ask the Sports Authority to send us a written report as to their recommendations and insights as to the MOU.
Okay, so I have a motion from Councilmember Carlson, second from Councilman Miranda, and they can just email that to us when they have it done.
Yeah.
How's that? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. I have a motion to receive and file. I have a second from, a motion from Councilman Maniscalco, a second from Councilman Miranda. All in favor? Aye. Thank you all. Have a lovely evening.
Parade and the Tampa Bay Tech Battle of the Bands, and he is